And you see her as she's looking at you from afar. And you're ordering another shot at the bar. And you know she's got that bite. And you know she sings with no pride. But tonight, let's see what she's got tonight. So I say hello there. Hey, how you doing? Well, hello there. Hey, how are you? I said hello there. I'm standing here in front, entertaining you. It's true. Let's have some fun tonight. 'Cause Angie's got the mind. And I say hello there. Hey, how are you? Let's have some fun too. Thank you. Thank you.
Ambient noise, yeah.
So now you're grabbing some Bandlab clips.
Now for me, that would also be something where I would use like volume automation and like bring that from the bottom, like bring it in and then bring it back out. Kind of.
And these are the kinds of sounds you can scratch. With this AI, like scratching it actually can be cool.
Oh, that was perfect for the interlude too.
Ends it right in the
I
right
didn't
spot.
even notice. 40. I didn't even realize the texture faded out at the interlude until it happened. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes you just, it was just meant to be that way.
And welcome to another episode of Talking Shh, 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 IT. Now, normally it'd be Glenn and Tony, but Glenn's off to the mountains tonight. So we got a special guest, Silenced Rose. My boy John.
Hey guys, how you guys doing? I hope you guys can hear me.
You sound good.
Great. So what do we got for the night, man? I know.
Welcome to your first episode of Talking IT.
So what are we doing here? What do we want to do?
Well, we're going to be covering Bandlab tonight, and later in about an hour at 10, they're going to be doing a Q&A session. Actually, let me fire up Aman's page. Aman from Bandlab is going to be hosting a Q&A with the Bandlab community team. I think it's Mitch who's going to be with him tonight, and they're going to be answering some questions about what's going on with Bandlab and some of the changes that are going on. So at 10 o'clock, we're going to actually bring that stream into here and watch it with the rest of you.
Okay, that sounds great. So is he
And
like the administrator, or is he like a projects manager or something?
well, Amon's the top dog on the support, so
Okay,
he's the guy to get the answers from.
that's great.
And we've got some Cakewalk videos and some Bandlab videos, tutorials that they have over on their YouTube page, which we haven't taken a look at yet. So while we're waiting for them to come on at 10, we've got a few things we're going to take a look at. Anybody who hasn't heard in the last week, Bandlab announced that Cakewalk is going to be shifting over to a paid product, which is kind of a big deal,
Hmm.
starting to make a lot of news over on YouTube.
Okay.
And this was a video we watched last week, but we're gonna run through it again just for those who might have missed it, so they get an idea of what the future of Cakewalk's going to be.
Yeah. So Cakewalk, wasn't it before like free and stuff like that? I know back in the '90s it was a software that was actually not so popular, but it was actually a powerful thing that people kind of missed and slept on.
Well, in the 90s, it was more of a MIDI sequencer and not so much a DAW. It didn't really become a DAW until the end of the 90s when everything started going digital and they added the ability to edit waves in audio tracks. Cakewalk started originally as a MIDI
Oh, okay,
sequencer,
that
but
makes sense.
as it's evolved, eventually it became Sonar before Bandlab took it over, and then they renamed it to Guac by Bandlab. And with this new announcement, what's going to happen is they're taking that code and they're going to move it back to Sonar as their paid product, but they also have this new product called Cakewalk Next, which Audio Tech TV over
Mm,
on YouTube, he goes into detail on these two products and where they fit into Cakewalk's future.
okay.
So we're going to take a look at that. We've also got a new tutorial that they just put out on how to use the Bandlab Studio and navigate around in the DAW. Also got 5 ways to clean up your vocal tracks by Eumonik. Awesome tutorials that he has. And if we have some time before they start their Q&A, got beat making recipes from Ali Stone.
Hmm.
And as much as I'm not a big fan of the auto tune, it's good to know how to use it and how to use it right. So Sky Jordan Dexon. Let's see what his YouTube at Sky Jordan Dexon um, covers how to use the auto tune. So we're gonna take a look at that as well.
Okay.
So let's start with the news on Cakewalk and see where they're going to be going with this. Let's get that loaded up. There we go. So this will tell you where Cakewalk is going to be going.
Okay.
There's so many questions and very few answers at the moment, but Bandlab have announced that they're going to be phasing out the free Cakewalk by Bandlab DAW, and they're replacing it with 2 new products. And one of these is bringing back the old Sonar name, which Cakewalk by Bandlab used to be called. And the other one is going to be called Cakewalk Next. So let's have a look at both of these programs and we'll see why I think one of them might be a little bit of a disappointment. But who are each one of these geared toward? What might they cost? And what does this mean to the future of these DAWs and other DAWs in general? So you can see on the website, there's the 2 new products that are coming soon. Let's start with Cakewalk Next. So right away on this page, you can see a bit of a screenshot of Cakewalk Next, and it kind of looks like a slicker version of the Bandlab DAW, which is cloud-based. but I'm really hoping that this is going to be on your computer and not a cloud-based program. And there is a reason why I think this is going to be a program on your computer and not cloud-based. So we'll look at that in just a bit, but it does look like it might have a nice modern workflow to it. And if we scroll down here, it says the newest addition to Cakewalk Next offers easy to use yet powerful tools for creators of all stages. And you can see you can also request early access to test this out if you want. So let's look down here. It says cross-platform compatibility. Next is available on both Mac and Windows. Now, if this was a cloud-based program, it would be available on everything, but they're specifically saying Mac and Windows, which makes me think that this is going to be a program that you install on your computer. Now, here we have ease of accessibility. So no matter your level of expertise, we understand your evolving needs and meet you where you are. So it sounds like it's going to be easy for beginners to get into this, which Bandlab, the online version, is easy to get started with. And if this is sort of an extension of that, I can see how this is going to be easy for users. But if you are getting more advanced and the more you grow, this program should grow with you and your skills. And over here we have Bandlab connectivity. So publish your tracks to Bandlab and access its diverse library of royalty-free sounds and samples. And they've really been pushing their Bandlab community lately, so I can see that this is going to be very much a big part of that community. And then down here we have some more images of Cakewalk Next. It says less work, more flow. Turning your dream song into reality should be easy. Again, making it sound like it's going to be easy for beginners to get started with it. And it looks like you're going to be able to edit lyrics and synchronize them with your song's timeline. So that's pretty cool. Access unlimited samples, which you can do in Bandlab, and then customize your sound, easily shape unique sounds with beats and sampler and pad controller features, plus experience fluid integration, browse and tag your favorite AU and VST plugins for seamless access. And then down here, you can see they have some frequently asked questions, a couple that are to do with the beta testing, but is Next replacing Cakewalk by Bandlab? So that's an interesting question right there. No, Next is Cakewalk's newest innovation, empowering creators with accessible next-gen music creation tools to speed up song making. We will continue providing community support and maintenance for Cakewalk by Bandlab until both Cakewalk Next and Sonar become publicly available. And at some point after the release of Next and Sonar, Cakewalk by Bandlab will no longer be supported. Existing Cakewalk by Bandlab users will be able to continue using their software after the release of Sonar, but in the meantime, Cakewalk by Bandlab continues to be available here. Now, here's another big question that a lot of people will have. Will Next and Sonar be free like Cakewalk by Bandlab? Next and Sonar will be offered at price points designed to meet the needs of different customers. More information will be provided as we approach the launch date for these new products. So it sounds like there's going to be a price for both, which I can appreciate because they need to pay the bills over there, and they just got a ton of investment money, so they got to show their investors that it's worth investing in something that's not just giving everything away. Now, having said that, I do have a feeling of how they're going to price Cakewalk Next, at least. And I have a feeling it's going to be through a membership or a subscription type of thing, because they've really been pushing memberships on the Bandlab community platform that they have. And in the perks that you get with those memberships, it does say that there's more things coming soon, which could be this as a more thing that's coming soon. Will it be subscription or membership based only? I don't know, but I do have a feeling that it's going to be included with the membership on the Bandlab community. I really hope that it's not only a subscription based thing, because I think that's going to turn a lot of new users off, and there will be people that find use in the subscription model. I'm not saying that subscriptions are bad. I just know a lot of people hate them. Now let's have a look at what they're saying about the new Sonar DAW. So right away, when you click into this page, you'll notice that Sonar looks identical to what we have right now with Cakewalk by Bandlab. And they're saying this is the ultimate music production package for creative minds. So obviously this is the more advanced DAW for more pro users or people who are used to working with Cakewalk by Bandlab or Cakewalk or the former Sonar Platinum. This is going to be for those people. And they do say that you'll be able to open your old Sonar Platinum project files and your Cakewalk by Bandlab project files in this new version. So let's see what else we've got going on here. It says Sonar will bear an exciting new visual identity while retaining its existing workflows. This name change reflects our continued commitment to serving core audio production needs and providing the best all-around audio solution for Windows. So one thing in here that's a little bit of a disappointment to me is retaining its existing workflows. Cakewalk by Bandlab is a huge, impressive program. It's full of pro features and all of that stuff. I'm not knocking Cakewalk by Bandlab. I use it and I do like the program, but the one thing I really wish it had was a more modern workflow, a more improved workflow. And it says that they're going to be retaining its existing workflows. So that's a little bit of a disappointment to me because I would have liked to see them take Sonar or Cakewalk, whatever you want to call it, and bring it up to a more modern level that's in line with other DAWs that are available out there. It just kind of sounds like they're making it look nicer, giving it a little bit better graphics, but not modernizing that workflow. Maybe that will come eventually, but right now it just sounds like they're updating the graphics really. And will installing Cakewalk Sonar overwrite Cakewalk by Bandlab? No, the two applications installed at different locations on your file system so they can coexist on your computer. So what might this all mean to other digital audio workstations? Well, it's going to depend on what the price point is for each of these. I think that if there is a cost at all, if whatever it is, that we're going to see programs like Traction Waveform Free get a bit of an increase in the user base that they have. And that's an excellent program too, because it's unlimited and it's got a more modern workflow to it. And you can still do everything that you want in a modern DAW. But not everybody might go to a free DAW. They might start to explore other paid DAWs as well, because now if they're asking for money for this program, most people, I think, will shop around. They'll say, well, this costs this much. What other programs cost this much? And they might shop around to see what else is out there. And again, it depends on what the price point of this is, but I'm sure people are going to compare and see what's available at the same price point. So we could see user bases increase on other DAWs as well, not just the free ones. And if you're thinking that you might replace Cakewalk by Bandlab once they start charging money for it, click the video on the screen to see some of the best DAWs that are available for Windows right now. And these include free digital audio workstations or paid ones. And if you liked this video that you're watching right now, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating. Fist bump. Thumbs up.
So that's Zane over at Audio Tech TV on YouTube at Audio Tech TV.
That's just like kind of like the other ones they had back then. Like I remember like them showing us how to do like the vocals, and so they're not really, like you said, it kind of looks like a graphical update.
Well, that Cakewalk Next is going to be interesting to see how that falls into the whole product line. I I think from
Yeah.
what I'm hearing, they're they're going to basically take what they're doing with the BandLab app and with the online editor and kind of migrate it into this application. Something that's easy to get started, write your songs, and without all the complexities that come with a full blown DAW like Cakewalk.
Yeah.
And I gotta agree with him. Most likely, that's going to be the product that comes with the BandLab subscription. That's the kind of thing that will make subscribing to BandLab actually more valuable.
Hmm. See, I hope they can make the jump that's going to put them more on the map of respectable like place to go to, instead of like this is another one of those SoundCloud bunch of amateurs and this and that kind of thing going on. People who go on things like that Mac Air or iTunes or all that, they know that when they pull up iTunes, that they're generally gonna see on the front screen and the featuring good music, you know. But I don't know, man. I'm a connoisseur of everything with music. I don't mind listening to both sides. I've grown to it.
Well, and
I hope.
we were actually talking about this last night in the back. Bandlab needs some good
Yeah,
PR stories. They need some big artists who use Bandlab
yeah, that's what I'm
to
saying.
show like that you can be a big artist
Yeah,
and utilize Bandlab and its tools.
yeah, because if you kind of attach yourself to certain companies and they start handing out these options to their employees, like, hey, Mr. Ola, whatever, uh, BandLab is doing this, and if you would put a profile up so you can review people's music every now and then, they'll pay you $500 every time you do one.
Well, and they do
And hell
they
yeah, I
do
mean, I
they
would do
do
it.
offer like ways to get your songs reviewed, and that's some of
Yeah,
the features we've seen in the last year is
maybe.
the ability to get more exposure. That's part of the boosted
Yeah.
approach.
Well, instead of hatching it to where they're forcing like that, why don't they make it to where we can work towards being able to do that? So if we meet certain requirements and their team approves of our mixes and our things that we show them that we're how we're doing it, then you could be a reviewer too,
Well,
and
I
that would,
I review people's
yeah,
tunes and mixes all the time. If they need someone there, I'm here.
yeah, me too. Good idea.
Now, one of them that might actually be a good success story for them, um, be I think this artist. They just put up a video for her on the BandLab YouTube in the last week, and I hadn't heard of her, but I mean, multi-platinum producer,
Yeah.
so she's doing something right,
Oh hell yeah.
and they're going to show her beat making recipe, which, if there's one
Mm,
thing that you'll find all over YouTube when you search for BandLab is videos
it's
about
tactics.
making beats. A lot of beat makers go to BandLab, so I think that might be their biggest strength is, you know, their beat making. Let's get that one fired up and see what Ali Stone's been up to.
If it feels good and if it makes you feel something, then go ahead and do it. Hola a todos, yo soy Ali Stone, soy una productora, compositora, ingeniera y artista colombiana, soy de Bogotá y actualmente vivo en Los Ángeles, en Estados Unidos. Y pues este es mi 10º año como artista, pero la verdad llevo tocando música toda la vida. So my day basically starts with me at 6 a.m. waking up to work out and send emails, work on all the business stuff first before I start making the music, and then I'll go straight to work to the studio, create new songs, work on demos I need to deliver, finish productions. So it can be like either half a day or till 3 a.m. You never know when it's gonna end. So I started playing guitar when I was 7. And one of my first teachers was Juan Pablo Villamizar, who was Juanes' guitarist at the time. It was great that he actually kind of like took me under his wing, and he was impressed like with my ability with my fingers and my hands, even though they were like super small. From then on, I went also to play guitar with Mauricio Colmenares, who also played guitar for Juanes. And it was great to just have them like teach me like everything about rock, blues, improvising solos, AC/DC, the Ramones, Pink Floyd, all the Juanes guitar solos as well, like all his hits, kind of like leading me on a way to actually become a session guitarist. And it's crazy to see like all these memories and kind of like see how everything that I learned there in that moment has really even like being a great foundation to what I do now as a producer and as an artist, because it really gave me like a huge push musically into getting like my feet wet in the music industry, basically. During the pandemic, I actually spent a bunch of time like playing all these instruments, and it was like, okay, I've learned like every song possible like in these instruments, like what else can I do outside that? And then I decided like I'm just gonna start making songs out of like stuff that I have in my house. And I ended up making Crudo, which is the song where I mostly sampled like stuff from the kitchen. And it was super fun because it was like a new approach of like music making and kind of like bringing that curiosity you have as a child, that it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I wanna lead and like follow like the flow basically and see like where this sound takes me. You can transform like literally any sound and like capture like a tone or something from anything. It takes time, but like if you're committed to put in the time, then like it's super worth it. So we're here in the session in the Bandlab app where I recorded like my samples. Here are the kitchen samples. Yeah, grinding. Here, frying. Every sound that I grabbed from the kitchen and from my jewelry. So what we're gonna do first, for example, here, this is my boot sound. So we're gonna edit that first. Yeah, that's perfect. So that it sounds kind of like a kick, basically. We can use this as kind of like a snare. Let's edit that just a tiny bit. Yeah, so that it's more precise. First, I'm gonna loop this so that I make sure that everything's repeated. And let's open this again. So let's go. Perfect, we got that there. Here you can see the MIDI. We're just gonna edit that so that we have like the loop basically. So I grew up in Colombia, in Bogota, but my family is all from Santander, from Bucaramanga. And it's like all this richness that Colombia has that I love to bring it into my music, because I feel sometimes people pinpoint some certain sound or some certain genre to Colombia, but then it's like there's so many more sounds and so many more rhythms in Colombian culture, and I feel like it's important to bring out all of those sounds, all of those elements, even if it's in an eclectic way, because it's the way to show like the real diversity that's in Colombia and basically in Latin America too. Now we can start adding more percussion to it. Actually, I'm gonna leave that for later. Okay, that would be cool. So we're gonna add that on top. And I'm gonna add reverb to this one. We're gonna play that with the effects. Okay, that. Now I'm gonna record it. Amazing. As I've been like saying, I started playing instruments since I was like very little. Started with piano, then flute, then guitar, the U-bass or ukulele, the sitar, the sword sangam, the hand drum. Every year I would add a different instrument, a different skill. And now we're gonna bring in the bass, so it sounds like this. And if we bring it with this bass that I made on the sample pack, and play everything together, we have the backbone of the song. Very industrial, I feel. And yeah, that's basically with the kitchen and the jewels. When I started my artist project 10 years ago and I had my first show at a festival in Colombia, I decided to incorporate guitar solos, to sing live, to play drums live while DJing, to kind of like do like a one-girl band show basically. And that became kind of like my signature and led me into playing like bigger shows every time because it was entertaining to watch as well. And that's why I also like ended up opening the Purpose Tour for Justin Bieber, because he wanted kind of like an entertaining show, and it was like, yeah, that's like the most entertaining thing to watch, like a DJ that's kind of like singing, dancing, playing guitar, drums, like doing all of this, and basically going around the stage, like keeping up with the music. Let's record some vocals. In the kitchen with Bandlab. In the kitchen. Amazing. I'm just gonna add like some reverb to it so that it's not too dry. It's studio reverb. Here's the voice soloed. In the kitchen with Bandlab. And if I just bring it a little bit up, because everything else is like super loud. But that's how we basically built like the main body of a song. And then we can just start muting stuff. I started making like a bunch of sample packs. I made one for Bandlab where most of the instruments are samples of like house stuff. And I actually put in the titles of the samples, like what they're made from, so that people know like this sound actually came from this, like this is the source. And I feel like that's super entertaining because in the end it's like you can transform like literally any sound and like capture like a tone or something from anything. If you're sampling something that is like, oh, it's not the conventional way of making music, but it's adding something to the feeling that you want to convey in your music, then go ahead and trust that instinct. And yeah, let your mind run free with Bandlab.
I'd say they stepped it up right there. That actually, because you can make your own sample libraries and publish that. I saw that.
Yeah, when they added the sampler last year, that was a big, big deal.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, this month they have a contest. Let's see if we can bring up that page.
Okay.
Yeah, sampler kits for days. That contest is all about using the sampler in one of your songs. And if any of you are
Mhm.
playing with the sampler out there, this is the month to do it. Throw that in there.
Yeah, I mess with that time to time. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to infuse your samples as they are, chop them up, and sprinkle them into a 100% unique track.
Yeah. Should also provide them that link to that. Who was that artist again? Make sure that
This one was Allie Stone.
Ali Stone.
But hey, she's opening up for Justin Bieber.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Um, I think that's really cool that they're starting to show the other world of the new artist. No, going to the concert and doing your own concerts. Uh, if you have the right equipment and the right things in a perfect world, it's just like you do what you do in your bedroom. Just you're doing it in front of people live, which is that part's the different part. Actually performing it. So if you can record it, make sure you can do it live too. Make sure, or at least have a live version or something set up where you can.
Now we got about 10 minutes before their stream's going to be starting, and we're going to bring that in.
Okay.
But I've got one more here that goes back a little bit, but it's by Eumonik, which is some of the best Bandlab tutorials out there. He's the dude, and
All right.
this is one that we are constantly talking about over here when it comes to cleaning up your vocals. You know
Okay.
the challenge there.
It's
A
hard.
lot of phones, you'll get noise and other things that you want to be able to clean up. He's going to give you 5 ways to clean up your vocal tracks.
Yeah.
There it is.
Nope, we're switching things up today. I got remix challenge winners to announce. Also, I want to show you how to clean up your vocals so you can make more music. Let's go. In my experience, the vast majority of independent music makers and artists realize that when they're recording, especially vocals, it's not an ideal situation. So to simulate that, I'm going to be recording vocals using my phone and some old school wired earbuds. And then to kick things up a notch, I pulled up some city background noise. We're just out here, in the city streets recording our vocals. No big deal. There's some taxis driving by. It's a crazy day. Wow, that is way too loud. And that's what I'm going to be recording my vocals over. Just to show you that you can get rid of the noise. Now, it may not be perfect, but it's going to sound better using basic features that are all built in to Bandlab. Open up my mind, I find a reason to write. People living life don't survive by just chasing lights. Lights off, 3 kids inside are safe sleeping. Raised up by my wife and I in the Lord's keeping. But the world's creeping, and the noise outside makes it feel like the walls are caving in. Who's brave enough to breathe again and remind us of the victory? The frequencies are speaking far greater than the chaos. Turn the noise off. Turn the noise off. Okay, I think I need to try that again. Now, if you're curious who the winners are for the Eumonik Remix Challenge, stick around to the end. But right now, gotta show you how you can get rid of noise in your vocals and in your recordings. Now, because of Bandlab's seamless multi-platform experience, I'm gonna open that same project that was recorded on an Android phone on my iPad. Also, you don't need to use all of these effects. These are just options that are available to you. So let me get to it. First, I'll be adding a filter from the tone category. Also from the tone category, a graphic EQ. Then 2 from the dynamics category. We got a noise gate and then a de-esser. For now, I'm going to turn off the effects so we can focus on each one individually. Filters can be used for all different kinds of things. On vocals, I normally use it to get rid of the low end rumble, so we need a high pass filter. So I'm going to change the type to high pass, and you'll hear what it does to the vocal. It's been thinned out significantly, so we need to change the frequency. The Lord's keeping, but the world's creeping, and the noise outside makes it feel... Now at this point, all you got to do is move that frequency slider around to find where it's taking away the frequencies you don't need, but it's not taking away from the actual meat and potatoes of the vocal. Somewhere around 200 hertz is working for this vocal. 1 down, 4 to go. Next up, number 2, graphic EQ. I like to take a frequency and boost it to hear how it's affecting it and to hear if it's a really resonant, noisy, boxy, muddy, harsh etc. frequency, and then just lower it a little bit so I'm crafting or sculpting the tone of the recording.
Don't survive by just chasing lights. Lights off. 3 kids inside are safe sleeping, raised up by my wife and I in the Lord's keeping. But the world's creeping, and the noise outside makes it feel like the walls are caving.
As you saw there, I give it a little boost around 200 or 400 hertz and then notched away just a little bit of it. All we're doing is sculpting the sound and hopefully make it sound a little bit better with this EQ, the graphic EQ. 2 down, 3 to go. Let's move on to the next one. Number 3 is the noise gate. Now, to understand how this one works, I'm going to crank up the threshold so you can really hear what it's doing.
Open up my mind. I find a reason to write. People live in life, don't survive by just chasing light.
As you can hear, it's like slicing important parts of the vocal away, and we don't want that to happen. We just want the noise gate to be turned on when there's no talking or there's no rapping or singing. That's when we want the noise gate to activate. So we have to change the threshold and find a good spot where it does that, but it's not taken away from the actual performance.
And the noise outside makes it feel like the walls are caving in. Who's brave enough to breathe again and remind us of the victory, the frequency?
An important thing to listen for when using a gate is those pauses or those breaths. If those get decreased or effectively taken away, and the vocal, when it comes back in, it's not being cut off, then you got a good spot. 3 down, 2 to go. Number 4 is a de-esser. Now, a de-esser is a frequency-specific compressor. So it focuses on just a certain frequency, and when that frequency becomes too loud, that's when it activates and squeezes it. De-essers are focused on the ps and the ts and the k, all the harsh, crisp consonants that we say in certain syllables.
Open up my mind, I find a reason to write. People live in life, don't survive by just chasing lights. Lights off, 3 kids inside are safe sleeping, raised up by my wife and I in the Lord's keeping. But the world's creeping, and the noise outside.
Now, before I show you how easy denoise is to use, I need to mention something that I haven't already. When you're adding effects, especially if you're carving or toning a vocal, you need to make sure to listen to it in context to the music that it's going to be in. You don't want to just solo the track and make all these significant changes, then you bring the music back in and your vocal just doesn't fit. It's easy to take too much away from a vocal when you're just listening to the vocal.
Open up my mind, I find a reason to write. People live in life, don't survive by just chasing lights. Lights off.
All you got to do is tap on the audio region and then select denoise right here. It's hiding down at the bottom. Now it's going to work some magic and it goes pretty quick. So let's hear how this sounds.
Open up my mind, I find a reason to write. People live in life, don't survive by just chasing lights. Lights off, turn the noise off. Turn the noise off. Turn the noise off. The frequencies are speaking far greater than the chaos.
Remixing somebody else's work can be a lot of fun. It can also be really challenging. And sometimes it gets kind of confusing because you have so many options and there's all these creative possibilities. So to all of the music makers and all of the artists that entered this remix challenge, I appreciate you. If you didn't get selected, if you were really wanting the grand prize, don't take it as a loss. Take it as at least I had fun and I learned from it, because that's truly how you will continue to keep making music, if it stays fun and fresh and exciting. Here are the winners, though, with all that being said. Fourth place is Deep Kibbs. This one had a stank factor of probably like 8. The moment the beat dropped, what is this? You know, did one of those. It was right. It felt good. So, Deep Kibbs, well done. Speeding things up with third place. This one goes to Maze Matt with a 165 BPM drum and bass remix. This was nasty. I really enjoyed listening to this one. It was a surprise. It got me like pumped up, and kudos, bonus points on the graphics. He took the logo, added some cool text. It looks really cool with the jungle. It's got nice pop and contrast. Maze Matt, make more music. You're doing it right. It's good stuff. Right here. Grooving on into second place, we have Rick with a very eclectic, vibrant remix. And I really like this one because there's this synth lead that kind of is a chorus that repeats, I think, 3 times throughout this beat. It took it to a different direction. It had a whole different melody, and that was interesting to me because it was a surprise. So surprise, Rick, you won second place. Well done. Grand prize, first place, Morrow S. This is a Frankenstein beat, in your words. Mangled and mashed into this monstrous madness of music. First off, you get bonus points because you not only used the sounds from the project, but you also grabbed a bunch of other sounds from my Bandlab loop pack. I was constantly getting this mosaic of pieces from sounds that I'm familiar with because I made them, but at the same time, you have to amalgamate them in some cohesive way, and this just all seemed to flow. You said you mangled and mashed many sounds, and that is kind of like the way kids play with Play-Doh. I'm thinking of my children at the moment, but I could feel that. I knew that when you were making it, you had fun. You were just like, oh, let's try this. Maybe this will work. And you just threw everything together. I think I honor that because that's what I do when I'm making music. It doesn't come from a technical place. It comes from that squishing Play-Doh, let's make this and try this out. And that's what this beat felt like, if that makes any sense at all. It felt like you were discovering something. And as I listened to it, I was discovering it with you. Okay, are we back on planet Earth now? Anyway, round of applause to everybody. You won some cash, you made some music. That's a pretty sweet deal. Congratulations. One more big congratulations to the winners of the Eumonik Remix Challenge. Thank you to Bandlab for providing a free platform for all of us to make more music. If you're curious what I do, check out the link in the description to my channel. And of course, subscribe here for more Bandlab tutorials. Now, you know what to do. Turn the noise off and make more music.
And that's Eumonik. Over
That was pretty cool, dude.
Yeah, on the Bandlab channel. He's got some cool videos. If you check out anybody's videos about Bandlab, he's the first one you should go to.
Right. I think like it's pretty knowledgeable on the mixing side with the vocals especially. I just stick to what I know, but I mean in the mobile side and doing all that, dude, less is more. Always is.
Well, and they've gotten some better tools to help with the vocals. I mean, the auto-tune has gotten better. The noise reduction that they've added in the last couple of years helped a
Yeah, there's a
shit
thing
ton.
called a pumper, and that's a side chain. It's a side chain compressor, I believe. It's pretty good.
Now, I don't see their stream starting yet, but we'll keep an eye out on that because it is 10, and that's when they're supposed to be starting.
Okay.
Let's take a look on their on Amon's page, see what he's got going. Not sure if he's going to be streaming from his account or one of theirs.
Mm-hmm. We'll go to the explore section. Mm-hmm. Under there, it might be under the Bandlab radio. Might be a podcast thing.
They're not up yet. But we'll keep an eye out for them.
All right.
Let's see what else we've got here. So we did Alley Stone.
No, stir.
I've got this tutorial, but this one's a little longer, so what we'll do, we'll take a look at this, and if the stream comes up, we'll switch over to that and continue it after. But this looks like they've finally put together a good tutorial on getting around, and it's the most recent. I mean, this literally in the last week, so it's going to be relevant to all the new things that they've added this year.
Okay.
And we should be subscribed to Bandlab.
All right.
So we're going to take a look at how to use the Bandlab Studio. And I think whether you've been using it and are a seasoned pro or new at it, chances are there's going to be something useful here. There it is.
What is up? It's Eldre. In this video, I'm going to be showing you what Bandlab is and how you can use it to make music and be empowered as a creator. At its core, Bandlab is a free app that allows you to make music from anywhere, all via your phone or desktop. And it's not just for making music either. There's a whole lot more to it. Beyond using Bandlab's DAW, also known as Studio, to make music, there's a ton of free creator tools that you can use to enhance your music making journey. There's the AI-powered song starter that helps you come up with musical ideas. There's the practice tool Splitter that allows you to split a song into 4 stems. There's Bandlab Mastering, designed by Grammy-winning engineers. And artist services like Bandlab membership that gains you access to opportunities, profile boosts, fan reach, and distribution. But in this video, to start things off, we're just going to be focusing on Bandlab Studio. So if you got the Bandlab app and you're wondering how to access Bandlab Studio and start adding tracks, to dive in, just open up the app, tap this plus icon right here, and hit Open Studio at the bottom right. And here is where you'll be able to add tracks. And as you can see, there are a variety of different tracks you can add. Let's run through them all. Starting with voice and audio. Pretty straightforward. You can record any audio coming through your phone or your external mic. Next 2 tracks are guitar and bass. You can plug in your guitar or your bass and jam out on this thing. Next one is a fun one called Looper. With Looper, you can pick a pack of pre-made loops and start setting them off to manipulate your track. Next up, you have virtual instruments. So this is a MIDI track with a range of different instruments and different sounds within each instrument, but this is how you get your melodies going. And lastly, my favorite, sampler. With sampler, you can pretty much turn any sound into an instrument by sampling anything with just a tap. Alternatively, you can import your own sounds or Bandlab sounds, which we'll get more onto that later. But this thing, crazy. And that's pretty much all the tracks you need to start making some amazing music. Let's look into the project settings within Bandlab. So the third tab here, the little gear icon, is the project settings. Here you can change things like the tempo by hitting plus or minus, or even doing tap tempo. You can change the time signature, the project key, and there's a lot more settings to fine tune your experience. With the basic navigation of Bandlab out of the way, let's dive into creating some music. To do this, you're gonna wanna add a new track, hit voice and audio, and then you can start recording. I recommend having some wired earphones with a microphone or your external mic with some headphones on. Also, before we record, let me show you a few tools that will help you out. Number 1, the tuner in the bottom right. What this feature does is it'll tell you what key you're in as you're recording. I can't sing, so I'm no Charlie Puth. I have no idea what key I'm singing at any time ever. But this is a cool feature for those who know how to utilize it properly. On the opposite side in the left corner, we have monitoring. What that does is pretty much allows you to hear yourself while you're recording.
Hello, hello, hello.
And lastly, if you're recording over a beat and you need to be on a certain BPM, you can have your metronome right here in the bottom right as well. So once you do that, you hit record, turn on monitoring, and you're good to go. Yeah, it's L. Dre, and I'm here with Bandlab, doing my thing. Doing my Bandlab thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's how you record audio. Once you're happy with it though, you can check out auto pitch for some pitch correction, which I desperately need.
It's L. Dre, and I'm here with Bandlab, doing my thing. Doing my Bandlab thing. Yeah.
You can also click the FX tab, which has a ton of different effects to use. Let's try Scotty Tone.
It's L. Dre, and I'm here with Bandlab, doing my thing, doing my Bandlab thing.
Just look at all these different effects. Like, that is insane. If you can't sing like me, there's something in here that's gonna make you sound good, I guarantee it. Which works better for me is having auto pitch already on while I'm recording, so then I can make myself sound good right away.
Yeah, it's L. Dre, and I'm here with Bandlab. Here with Bandlab, yeah, I'm doing my Bandlab thing. Hey, doing my Bandlab thing. Yeah, doing my Bandlab thing. Yeah.
That's a recipe for some hits, all in Bandlab Studio. Let me introduce you to Bandlab Sounds. Bandlab Sounds is Bandlab's royalty-free sound library, and it's a great way to start a track. Here you'll find thousands of samples, loops, one-shots, all of that from a bunch of really cool producers from all over the world. With all these different sounds and genres in one place, completely royalty-free, it makes it easy for anyone to get started. So let's create a new track and go straight to Bandlab Sounds. The first tab is packs. The packs are the collections of all the different loops and sounds from all the different producers from all over the world and all the different genres. Looking for some soulful, modern R&B vibes? Well, check out this pack right here. It has 100 samples, and it's all super organized. The next tab is one shots. Is going to be your go-to for all the short sounds you need to spice up your tracks. One thing that's really cool is just how organized it is. So if you're looking for a snare, for example, you hit snare, and now you can narrow it down by genre. So let's say you're looking for a lo-fi snare. And what kind of vibe? Maybe you're looking for an organic or a chill snare. You hit that, and now it's narrowed down. It makes it much easier to find sounds that you're looking for. You can star them and save them for later, or you can add them right to your track. The next tab is loops. And here you'll find all your loops. They're usually between 2 to 4 bars. What's really great about them is they're usually labeled with the key, the BPM, and just like the one shots, you can filter through. So let's say you're looking for a guitar loop and you want it to be R&B. Here you go. Here's a bunch of R&B guitar loops that you can easily start your beat with. Throw some drums, some bass on top of that, and you already got yourself a song. Another really cool way to use Bandlab Sounds is the Looper track. Looper is a library of royalty-free loops that are really easy to put together and play with and just kind of jam out. It's super fun. So you open it up, pick a pack. One thing to keep in mind, sometimes Bandlab will tell you to switch to the tempo of these loops. But if not, just make sure you go and change the tempo to whatever tempo the pack said, just so it can be a smoother experience. But once you're in it, you just start tapping things and having fun, honestly. And hit record. So now you got a full track recorded, but honestly, I can get lost in this for hours. Like, it's the funnest thing to do. Let's talk about using the sampler in Bandlab Studio. The sampler allows you to record any sound with your phone and then save that sound to be replayed with just a tap. To access the sampler, you hit the plus to add a new track, and then hit sampler. To create samples, you just tap and hold to create a sound. Like I said, you can record any audio, you can pull up a guitar, any other instrument, or for this example, we're just gonna beatbox. And once you've recorded some samples that you like, you can hit these 3 dots at the top right, So now you can save a kit to be used anytime. Besides recording your samples in, you can also use pre-made sounds. From there, you just hit browse. You can use one of the thousands of royalty-free sounds in Bandlab Sounds library, or you can import something from your own device. Like me, for example, I have my own drum kits in my iCloud drive that I can easily import whenever I want. Now, when you got the sounds you like and you're ready to record, all you gotta do is hit record. But something I would recommend is to go to the project settings and turn on the count in for the metronome. Put it at like 1 bar, whatever you're familiar with, and then turn the metronome on when you record. This is something I like to do to make things easier on myself when I want to record, so let's try it. And since the sampler records in MIDI, I can swap out any of those samples on the pads whenever I want to completely switch this whole thing up. And that's why I love the sampler track. Let's talk about using virtual instruments in Bandlab Studio. Bandlab has a variety of virtual instruments ready to use in the app. To access them, all you gotta do, make a new track and hit virtual instruments. You can filter through them with the tabs at the top if you want electric bass, guitar, keyboards, leads, whatever you want. So let's see what we would like. Let's just do clean acoustic guitar. So once you tap it, a keyboard will pop up and you'll be able to play. So let's record something real quick. That's cool for now. And let's check out some of these effects. Let's try ambient clean. Pretty cool. And again, a ton of effects. You can also go in and modify all the different things within these effects. And another cool tip with the keyboard is there's different types of keyboards. So let's say you want to play something within the same key, you come over to smart keys, and it's only going to show you notes that are in the key of D minor or whatever key you have set there, which is really cool and really helpful. And there's also smart scale. So if you click over here and hit smart grid, as you can see, we're in the scale of D minor and all the notes in the scale are presented to you in these blocks. And the little orange notes are the root notes. Pretty dope. Let's talk about editing your project in Bandlab Studio. In Bandlab, all your tracks and regions can be trimmed, looped, sliced, key changed, edited, and more. So once you have all these tracks together, you can just tap a region and you'll start to see some of the basic things popping up, like delete, copy, paste, loop, or slicing. And also this little white dot there is how you trim a track. If you want more advanced tools, you hit these little 3 dots on the right. You can shift things ever so slightly. You can mess with the gain. You can transpose it, time stretch it, fade, denoise, all these really cool things that you can do to tweak your sound exactly how you want it. This is a drum loop that technically doesn't need to be transposed. So let's put that to 0 semitones. Solo it, see how it sounds. Here's a pro tip, you don't have to edit each region one by one. To select multiple regions at once, you simply tap and drag them, and there you go. Now you can make modifications to all these at once, like let's say you want to split them all in this one particular section, you can do that. If you want to move them around, you can do that. And then you just long press to get rid of one that you don't want to continue messing with. Simple as that. In Bandlab, you can also edit the MIDI notes. So all you got to do is double tap on the MIDI track. And here's all the notes for the bass we played. And all we have to do to move things around is just select it, move it if we wanted to put things a little more on grid. If we want it off grid, let's unselect this magnet in the top right, so that way it won't snap. If I wanted to have some swing, you know what I'm saying? You can also adjust the length of the note as well. And you can also add in more notes if you wanted to. Let's talk about mixing your project and its effects in Bandlab Studio. So once your track is close to completion, you're gonna start thinking about mixing, panning, all your levels and all that kind of stuff. Let me show you how to do all that. So here's our track so far. We got a sampler track for the drums. We got a hi-hat loop from Bandlab Sounds library. We also got a melody loop from Bandlab Sounds. We got some vocals I recorded and a virtual instrument track with the bass. So first, let's adjust the audio and panning. What you're gonna wanna do is open up mix view, which is right here at the bottom left. And if you want to be organized, you could change the titles of your tracks by hitting these 3 dots and hitting rename. So this bottom slider is the master volume. You can use that to adjust the volume. You can also tap it to mute and unmute the track. For the Vox, for example, we definitely want to turn that down a bit. But if you ever wanted to raise it back to 0, you just double tap the volume slider. If you want to pan the track, right here, the little L and R that stands for left and right, you just kind of swipe up and down to go left and right. Let's hear that. Double tap that to bring it back to the center. Let's actually go into the sample of drums. Let's turn the kick up a bit. Turn the snare down a little. And as I already told you, if you want to solo or mute anything, let's say we wanted to mute the hi-hat loop for a bit. Solo the vocals. Super simple to do. At this point in the mixing process, we got our levels right. We pan what we want to pan. Now we want to mess around with some mixing effects. To access the effects, you can either press this little effects button right here. Another way to do it is outside of the mixer window. You can also just hit that same button. So right now we are on the sample. You have all these presets, which are great, but if you want to do some stuff on your own, like simple EQ, you hit that plus, and then you have all these different options for plugins. So you got this simple EQ3 and you wanted to get rid of some of the low end on the sample. You can do that. Let's say you wanted to add some reverb to it. You slide over here to reverb, and let's add studio reverb to it. Let's go back and solo the track. Let's say you wanted to add some crazy delay too. Slide over to delay, ping pong delay. All these different options, but let's get rid of that stuff. We don't need it on here. As you can see, as you're adding these effects to things, you can save them as your own custom preset to come back and add anytime to whatever track you want. Pretty sick. Now that your track is finished, it's mixed, it's sounding beautiful, let's talk about saving and publishing your track in Bandlab. So quite simply, what you want to do is just tap this cloud icon in the top right and hit save. At this point, you can add a photo, add a title, description, genre. There's some additional settings down here. You can select a band, and you can also apply some Bandlab mastering, all in this one app. And there's also quick saving. I should have done this way early in the process. Don't be like me. Save your work while you're working on it. But let's say you're working on it and you remember to save the track. You just double tap the cloud, and it's gonna save for you right then and there. And as you can see there, it said no changes because I haven't changed anything to the beat since I last saved it. And lastly is publishing. Same way, you hit the cloud, you hit publish, and now you can publish your song and have it shared with the rest of the Bandlab community. And look at that, you just made an entire song all on your phone for free using Bandlab. And again, I'm Eldre, keep up the good work, and I'll catch you next time.
That was excellent, man.
Yeah.
That was cool.
He had some good stuff in there. Now,
I didn't think I was.
it looks like they're getting their stream started. I'm trying to get that tab to share over on Angie's machine.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I'm dealing with a very slow connection to it at the moment.
All right.
Hopefully, if she can hear me, she'll see what I'm trying to do here.
Is it active in there?
Looks like they got like 20 something already.
Okay.
I'm just gonna share it from here.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hopefully she'll pick up on that and get that one. Or it could be Bandlab that's actually coming up right now.
Might be.
Yeah.
I know they've been changing a lot of things for the last few days.
Well, the link to their... There we go. Okay. Let's try this. There we go.
So spam, the most easiest way to think about spam is when something is not a meaningful comment, right? So
Somebody's
anytime
asking about
someone
spam.
says something like when the chat is saying something that's not really helpful, something like follow me, instead of follow me multiple times, it's not very meaningful to the actual channel. That's what we mean by spam, right, on Bandlab, right? Obviously, there are people who want to promote their music, they can do it in you can share about your music organically, but when you post on someone else's post on the trending feed, the comment is if you post multiple comments about the same thing, we don't mean it, we don't see that as meaningful, and that's why it's actually removed. Yeah, so if you're wondering like, what kind of promotion is then allowed, right? So you can today, you can obviously post about your music, right, on your own profile. You can tell people, that you made a really amazing track. You can do that, but anything more than that, we will actually detect as spam, and we will remove it.
Yeah, and I think something to just quickly add is that, if someone sees your track on trending or anything like that, they're automatically going to go to your profile, and there they will see your links, your other social links. So, that's also there for you.
Yeah, if you're using trending multiple times or multiple posts on the entire trending feed, that is spam, right? So, if you imagine you leave the trending word on every single.
Did it go somewhere? What happened?
Oh, I switched it over to Ange's machine.
Okay, you got it?
Yeah, looks like she's got it set.
Okay. That's pretty neat, though.
Well, it is a good question.
Yeah, I don't hear any sound no more.
Oh, she didn't share audio. That's...
Yeah.
I'm still hearing the sound from this one. Hold on. Let me switch that.
Style of making things work for you. So, if you know that the maximum on Bandlab is 20 tracks, that shouldn't also be a limitation, but it should also challenge your creativity to kind of think of how to overcome that issue.
Okay, so just answering the question, right? So like 20 tracks, we have 16 tracks today at the moment. If you have, I would say it's an API issue. We can actually increase the number of tracks on Bandlab, but not every device will be able to support that, right? On your, we have, Bandlab works across Android and on iOS. We have plenty of devices. So obviously, on an iOS device like an iPhone 13, iPhone 14, those are going to be amazing devices because the processor is really strong. You can have multiple tracks and it will load fine. But if we also have users who use like Android devices, right? And some of the lower end Android devices don't actually support more than that track, not more than that amount of tracks, and that could lead to it being very, very slow. You could potentially crash the app, and that's why we kind of limit that just to make sense of it. We are constantly adjusting the limit. Yeah, we always play around with what makes most sense and here and there. But in the future we will look at increasing that limit as more phone devices come out. Initially it was only 8, but today we are actually 16. So hopefully, in the near future we have more than that.
Plus now you can freeze tracks.
Okay, we have the very next question again from Groot. Thank
you
for your question.
Saves memory
will there
space.
be any update where the instruments won't be keyboards anymore, besides the drum kits and drum pads?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can say that.
Really?
Yeah, I would say today we have so many new instruments. So I think there's one other question about adding other instruments onto Bandlab. Adding an electric organ and other unique instruments onto Bandlab. We actually release 4 instruments a week, right? So the latest, I guess, biggest instrument that we did was sampler, right? That was the one that that really allows you to play with the app, add your own sounds, kind of manipulate the pitch around it. We are doing more when it comes to sampler. We are doing a lot more when it comes to exploring the way you create music. Yeah, so I can't say too much because I don't want to give everything away. But yeah, there's some really cool things that you might observe in sequencing. There's a big clue over there that you will see in Bandlab really soon. It will allow you to create music a lot more easier. Yeah. So yeah.
And I definitely also don't think it hurts to know how to play a chordal instrument, whether
Yeah.
it's guitar and especially piano. It does help your production skills a lot.
So
keep on getting those keyboard skills,
learn,
guys.
get some keyboard skills, everyone.
For sure. Okay, now we have another question on instruments as well, but a little bit different. It's from MSM Arts. Could you guys add an electric organ and some other unique instruments too? So I think Eamon previously just answered this. So we do update with 4 instruments on a monthly basis. Totally, if you guys have like suggestions for instruments, you know, I'm sure we'll do a post about it very soon, just getting your suggestions, what you guys like. But, you know, like Eamon mentioned, there's the sampler. You can also, you know, import audio tracks. So, you know, we want you to also make your own sounds and not just rely on like what we have. And, you know, that expands your creativity and your
It looks like Tony has blooped, guys, so just give it a minute. He'll be back. Yeah, so it's only me. Welcome. Well, I am going to hold you guys down for a minute. So we'll be back in probably about a minute. It's probably racing and going out of his mind now. So Tony, it's okay. Yeah, okay. But if you guys are smart, you guys don't want to miss a bit of that, or pretty sure it's on their website, isn't it? Where did Tony go? Oh, it looks like Bandlab's going through a lot of changes, guys, and that's pretty cool. I think more my interest right now is probably more on the loops and the sampler. So you might be able to see some of those get released from me. I'll try that. I don't know if he's gonna be able to come back here in time, catch up with you guys, but see it about. Yep, there he is. Got it back, and I'm gonna go ahead and it's no sound yet, but she'll come back.
And work seamlessly, the way we like to think about it.
Okay. I see a black screen.
soon in the future. We're going to, when we are trying to gather people to really look for feedback to help, you know, like I mentioned previously, to really make Bandlab the best place to be. That's where, you know, you're going to
I can see you now.
Sessions. So stay tuned for that, but if you're looking to really
I can hear
kind of put in more input, I would suggest checking out the Discord community.
I see Glenn.
We have dedicated polls and channels.
He's
and
here in
forums for
spirit.
that. So yeah. Let's go to the very next topic, which is about genres. So I know this is a really big one that's been mentioned.
Oh yeah, it didn't work.
EDM.
So it's probably a
I
pre-record.
have Extus. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But will Bandlab give more importance for all EDM artists out there?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's actually really interesting because we this year we did our first I guess EDM
I
event.
just need
Yeah,
to
we went to
go finish up
SFM,
this dinner thing real
SFM
quick.
Dance Festival.
I'll be
Was
right
it
back.
this year or dance event? Sorry,
I think it was
It's alright.
last year. Yeah, late last year was the first time we ever did like an EDM festival, like really short Bandlab EDM festival kind of collaboration where we kind of find out more about what do EDM artists need really, right? When it comes to music production and when it comes to putting themselves out there, right? Today, we obviously, we have the things like trending playlists, and we do celebrate our EDM artists, through contests and through the little things that we have done. But yeah, I would say we do hope to grow that part of it, right? Especially in Europe, where EDM is a very big part of it over there. So hopefully, we'll do something like other dance festivals, we'll make our presence known over there, do more stuff around that. So yeah, we
Fingers crossed, guys.
Fingers crossed,
It will
yeah.
come.
Yeah.
I think this also leads beautifully to our next question by Priceless Music Ltd. When are the other genres of music becoming their own tab? I feel like electronic is too broad and needs a few of the genres like dubstep, EDM, future bass, and etc.
Yeah, today actually, you can tag all of your music, right? You can do hashtag dubstep, hashtag EDM, hashtag future bass. You can do all of that like today, and it will show up. But one thing about genres is we as a team we've been trying to tackle this problem for a long time, right? Because there are several subgenres for many genres, right? So for example, the best example is like rock, right? Because today you get things like math rock, things like progressive rock, things like indie rock, right? There's so many different categories of rock, and if we add all those things, you realize that the genres kind of go crazy as well, and how we can manage that also is something that we've been thinking about as a team. So it's a pretty big problem. I would say we've been thinking about it for quite a few years now, but it's something that is definitely on the roadmap, something that we want to address. We help you guys, kind of categorize your music the best way. That's as you relate as a creator, right? So I would say for now, I know the broad category, may not be the best thing. But if you create your own playlists around like future bass, you create your own communities around future bass and stuff like that. Yeah, you can also talk about it. You also can invite fellow dubstep creators, future bass creators, whatever genres of music that you make, and just collaborate with them and share the music. If you go on our Discord server, once again, you have plenty of creators who do that, genre specific channels as well. Yeah, if you want to create a genre-specific server, let us know. We have something called a communities page, which we will feature. If you have a specific interest in a genre making music, like say for example future bass on Bandlab, we will create a channel for that as well. So just let us know, and we'll feature it on the communities page.
Yeah, and I think just on that, like using hashtags is definitely a great way, and I think this leads to the topic about using hashtags correctly, because this is somewhere that if everyone is, let's say there's a lot of people hashtagging techno, and we actually see that there's a very high demand for techno, then that's something that we can probably think of implementing. But if everyone is like just trying to hashtag every single subgenre of EDM, then it kind of won't be as helpful for us to really.
The song is hashtag hip hop, hashtag rock, hashtag metal, all in one song.
Yeah, so guys, that's the other tip. But I want to just mention lastly on this, we've definitely been hearing a lot about, including more genres, even especially lo-fi. That's definitely a big one that's been mentioned. Christian, gospel, and all of that. So we are definitely looking into it. So just stay tuned, stay tight, and we'll get there. But yeah, let's jump into the very next one, which is about our social features. So we have a question from 0606GNB. Okay, when will Bandlab have a call feature? Something sort of like Messenger, Insta, etc. And also, what about Bandlab stories?
Wow. I mean, do you feel like you need to call me on Bandlab?
No. Let's be. I think like, in a way you can think of like, the live collaboration, kind of like a call feature, I think it's actually even more useful than, being able to call someone, because you could call them on like WhatsApp or like I'm on FaceTime and, have them on the side and then actually collaborate live on Bandlab. And I think that's actually much more useful.
Yeah, we thought about this before actually as a team, right? We talked about earlier about, studio and its the limitations of, if it being on a web browser and also on the phone, right? The more things that you try to compare when it comes to, they are very intense, process heavy, such as like calling someone. It's going to make it even slower. So like, if you have such a feature, it makes things slower and it doesn't really actually help that music creation process, right? If you're making music on your desktop, but you have your phone on the side, you're calling your friend, or you have Discord. I know some of you have Discord, some of you use, I think people don't use Skype anymore. FaceTime?
FaceTime.
Right? Yeah, you have all those things, you're still able to collaborate, you're still able to ask these questions, about your music, you can still collaborate with someone, with someone else, and today, even with chat, we have done a lot more features, right? You can add audio attachments today, you can send your sample even through your chat anymore, in the moment, right? Yeah, so you don't have to worry about calling someone. I wouldn't say that's the most important thing for now in our team. Yeah, but maybe someday, we might do that. But Bandlab stories, I don't know, maybe. Right?
Yeah, we can't reveal.
Yeah, we can't talk too much about it. Yeah, maybe.
But these suggestions are great because then at least we know what you guys are looking for, what you guys want. So keep them coming. Yeah. I think we have a really good question from our MVP Brute.
Let's go.
Yeah. Also about the social aspect of the app, I know this is meant to be an intertwined music/social app, but it seems like some people who never post any music and instead complain about their online dating experiences, for example, are getting more notice than those who post music. How do you think this could be fixed, being an app that's meant for sharing music?
Right. So I think on Bandlab, we like to think about it as everyone as a creator, right? So there is that element of, if you want to share your authentic experience as a creator and say something like, you only have one post of music related post and everything else is about your life, sure, why not, right? Because we want to feature all aspects of the app. How that is curated today on the trending feed is something that we are working on all the time, right? We do notice that when people are authentic and really sharing something that's real to them, right? Like their day-to-day lives, people connect with it more and they like it a lot more compared to say, you put out a post and then all it says is follow me and this track is dope, right? It doesn't really connect with anyone because the caption isn't attractive or it doesn't really draw people to your post, right? When you want to draw people to it, you normally share a story, you normally share why this is important to you, and the form of short form videos seem to do very well today, right? I mean, look at other mediums such as like TikTok, right? Look at Instagram, right? Those are short form video actually does really, really well, right? Because it helps people connect. It doesn't, the whole track may not actually help people connect that quickly. Right, so you might want to think about that, as you're making your music and when you're posting on Bandlab, that maybe not everything should be about follow me, this track is fire, right? It doesn't really help people connect to your music.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And I mean, like also, as every single platform has their own purposes and serves their own purposes, and that's of course up to you to decide what Bandlab is meant for you. But I would suggest my biggest piece of advice is think about your audience, think about the people that are going to be looking at your music. Are they going to be interested about your online dating experience, or are they going to be more interested about why you created the track and what makes it good? So there's also that to take into consideration.
Or you make the online dating, you make a track about the online dating experience.
Yeah, and then that can be your little story and segue into that story. So there's always creative ways to get into, to dealing with all these things.
Yeah.
But...
So please tell us about your online. Don't tell us about online dating stories, but yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next question. It's about Bandlab membership. So, I know this is another thing that a lot of people have been asking about. Will Bandlab give a discount for membership?
We did run a 99 cents promo. Like, I'll say at the beginning, we ran a 99 cents promo. I think we just ended another promo about 4 days ago. It was the Abbott, right? You get 6 months free Abbott Premium, which is amazing. If you guys haven't heard of Abbott, it's actually kind of like, I would say it's a platform where you can kind of look for royalty-free tracks, and very similar to that of BeatStars. It's really, really amazing, full of tracks. But yeah, if you miss the promo, don't worry. We will always do promos, do much more things to make membership more exciting. There are also a lot more features coming with membership. So if you are currently subscribed, thank you so much on behalf of the team. But yeah, as we progress more, release more features, we will do more promos. So I'll say hang tight. It will all appear on the blog or appear on the Bandlab account. So make sure you are following all our socials.
That is another good thing to bring up, Eamon. So yes, if you guys really want to, be updated about like promotions or anything like that, at Bandlab is the place to be. So I do see a lot of people saying, on the community team profile, like, is Bandlab going to be there?
We are Bandlab.
We are Bandlab,
We are
but we
Bandlab.
are the community team at Bandlab. But for anything more promotional and also blog posts, educational tips, definitely check out at Bandlab, and it will be all there. But yeah. Let's go to the last segment of today, which is tips from the team, the community team in specific. So we have the very first question from 807 Baby. How can an individual get to the hip hop playlist? What are the things your projects need to qualify for the hip hop playlist?
Ooh. So I guess hip hop playlist could mean a couple of different places, right? It could mean the trending playlist. It could also mean Bandlab Radio, right? I think these are the two main, I guess, playlists that you can get featured on today. We have a dedicated team of curators that, their job is to really listen to the tracks, make sure that the tracks sound good, make sure that the tracks are professional sounding, right? So there are some things that you can do to make your track sound professional, right? I mean, I would say, like, making sure that things don't clip is probably the best thing. Yeah, make sure that your sound doesn't sound distorted. When I was mixing my music, I would listen to it on my car, I'll listen to it on my phone, on different devices, just to make sure it sounds good everywhere. A good way to make sure that sounds good is, is either than mixing, you can also master your tracks. Bandlab mastering, really, really important to master your tracks so that everything sounds good. Don't be afraid to mix under Unity. I don't know what's the best way to say that, but under Unity is, when you are actually exporting your track, if you look at the studio, you'll see that volume bar. If it's like showing up as red, probably not a good idea, right? You want to keep it somewhere around the green, you want to keep it somewhere closer to the 0 dB, and then when you master it, you will actually be kind of pushed up to -16, and they will make a lot more sense for your track. Yeah, so it won't sound too crazy. I would say do that, that's the first thing, right? Then obviously the production quality of your track. If you're a singer, you're a rapper, make sure things are in tune, right?
Unless it's purposely.
Unless it's purposely out of tune, right? Yeah.
To do it in like
tastefully.
Modal system or something.
Right, yeah, if you're doing something really, really, avant-garde, and stuff like that, yeah, for sure. But if you're doing things like hip-hop, you're doing a ballad, pop style, ballad, lo-fi, you want to make sure that these things sound good. Make sure that they, with things like, we release a lot of tools such as like denoising your track, making sure that you don't hear like, little artifacts when you play, using your effects to make sure that your sound sounds good. We have plenty of tutorials on the YouTube channel teaching you how to make your sound really sound much more professional. One great example is David, right? I mean, David, for those of you who may not have checked out David's music, David made most of his tracks on Bandlab. Yeah, and it's done using Bandlab effects, it's done using Bandlab's mastering. A lot of it is done in-house. Yeah, so that's a great example of the quality that you can get, once you have the skills to do that. Yeah, so I would say there's a good chance that you can get featured. But just make sure that these things are done properly.
Yeah. I'd say my best tip is, if you've been going at it at a track and you think it sounds good, take a step back and listen to it tomorrow. Like, taking a break and really walking around and then coming in with a fresh pair of ears definitely makes a whole world of a difference. So that's my biggest tip.
If you guys want us to do more listening parties, we do that already on Discord.
A lot on Discord.
Yeah, we do a lot of listening parties on Discord where you can get feedback from the team and from other people who are making music live about your track. So yeah, if you might want to get a second pair of ears, that's the place to do it.
Okay, let's go to the next one by Nosakima. What is the best method an artist can find an audience on Bandlab? Also, if you can, please make lo-fi a genre.
Yeah,
See another lo-fi shout.
Yeah, lo-fi genre. I mean, we love lo-fi music.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the best method an artist can find an audience?
I mean, I think we kind of spoke about a lot of the ways that, you can find an audience from, connecting with your audience in the right way, whether it's through how you promote yourself. And I think a big thing is, your music could be really, really, really good, but if you don't present yourself in a way that makes people want to follow you and want to be a fan of you in a way, that's where things get a little bit iffy. And of course it affects like spamming, promotion, all of the other issues that was brought up today. So I think at its core is like, make good tracks. Also, promote your music in a meaningful way that really, resonates with other people. And also just think about it as if you were, the listener and trying to look for an artist and trying to look for music, what would, looking at it from that perspective, like, how would you be able to find an artist? Would you, go to the person that has definitely bangers on their feed, but, everything just says, follow me, follow me, follow me. You're not really going to resonate with that, but definitely, when you find someone that has a great story to it, really is meaningful about their actions, I think that's very...
Yeah, I would say like to add on to what Michelle is saying, right? There's other than that you can explore different mediums, right? So like we talked about video, we talked about other platforms that you can use, but obviously on Bandlab, you collaborate with other people, right? Like the best way to get yourself known is to kind of collaborate with someone else that's kind of like more popular on the platform, right? Really look for people who you respect for their music, collaborate with them, release a track with them. Yeah, because people will be interested to see, oh, hey, you release a track with said person, and yeah, it makes the track really exciting. That's how many artists today do it, right? On things on Spotify, many artists collaborate on the day-to-day, work with other producers. Maybe singing is not your strength, right? Rapping is your strength. You might want to look for a singer to have as part of your verse, but collaborating will help you reach their fan base and also help them reach your fan base, right? Collaboration is always very, very powerful to help you reach, find a bigger audience, because you never really know like who is looking out there for your music, right? Like you could have a really interesting style. There's a blend of, I don't know, Ariana Grande meets, I don't know, T-Pain, maybe. Yeah, something that's kind of like, it kind of works in that way. Yeah, maybe, right? But it's finding the audience and putting yourself out there, and trying to collaborate. Not every track will be a banger, that's the truth. Yeah. But
you have to fail to succeed.
Yeah, you gotta try many times. Yeah.
You gotta, it's not always an easy road, but I'm sure when you get there, it's very rewarding. But yeah, we have the very last question for today, but let's end things on a lighter note. Hey, the Bandlab community team, I was looking for a question to ask you. In France, on June 21 marks the beginning of summer. Every year, the whole country celebrates...
Oh no.
You want to pronounce?
I'm not gonna
pronounce
it.
I will do my best and butcher the French language. I'm so sorry, but La Fête de la Musique. Will you two celebrate? Thank you very much for your answer. The best, your faithful good star.
Wow.
We have this from Mimi.
Oh, thank you for. I guess she's from France.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you for being a French user. We have many people actually from France that work in
Bandlab. Work in Bandlab. So we can definitely ask them if they celebrate it.
Yeah, they probably celebrate it. I would say because we have such a diverse community within our team in Singapore, where our HQ is in Singapore, but across the entire Bandlab team, we have so many different people, and as a platform, we celebrate so many different things. Right, kind of have to pick, what makes the most sense. Yeah. Obviously, in Singapore, we have our own, we were talking about it earlier this morning. Like the only songs that we could think of is kind of like your National Day songs.
Yeah, National Day is a huge thing here. Yeah. I feel like they come out with new songs
every year.
Every year, they should definitely do it on Bandlab.
Yeah, so I would say if you have a festival that is close to your heart, celebrate it like crazy on Bandlab, right? You can get other French creators to do so. I'm pretty sure there are quite a few French creators on Bandlab. I can think of quite a few of them. Yeah, reach out to them, release something together. Yeah, like I say, collaborate with them. Celebrate it in your own way on Bandlab, right? Once we see that there is something, there's more traction around these things, we would eventually feature it on our account. Yeah, let the community team know. And yeah, we will feature it on our page. If it's a great track, obviously we're gonna listen to it. Tag us so that we can hear it. If your friends are not following us, please get them to follow us as well. Yeah, and this way, we can share more about the things that you guys do on a day-to-day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess that's time for today, unfortunately. Of course, we would love to sit on live stream with you guys for the whole day and weekend, but unfortunately, it is a work day for us, and it is 10:52 a.m., so we still have half a day of work to get to. But I'd like to thank all of you for really joining our first live stream. I hope it was meaningful. I hope that you felt that, we were there to answer your questions. We do really go through all of the comments on the Bandlab community team page, so everyone is being heard, everyone is being seen, and we will definitely try to make all the suggestions that you have come true. So I think a big thing that could really help us is that we want to know whether you like this live stream, because we want this to be the first of very, of many. So we are dropping a post right now on the community team profile where you can leave your feedback about this live stream. Tell us, what you'd like to see next. If you have any ideas, maybe you want to hear Eamon play the guitar or something like that. Never know. Maybe you want to see different members of the team. Just drop it all there and we'll definitely check it out. And we will see you very soon live again. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon ahead. And we will see you very soon. And if you need anything, you know where to find us at the community team. Yes. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, that was some good points in there. Taking this perspective of what would you want to hear if you were hunting for music.
You know what I found interesting? Oh, they did cut the. No, they did have spammers. Do you see all that?
Yeah, they must have seen that's another issue too. If they go live more, they'll start to see that issue on that end and want to probably improve that too.
Yeah, and they actually saw the same spammers we see, like on a nightly
Hmm.
basis. That sad kid, pain in the ass. I hope they do something about his account.
Mm. Yeah, because he comes in and does the sad troll.
Well, now they're seeing it for themselves, so
Hmm.
it's going to be interesting
Hmm.
as they do more of this, and I hope they do. It's going to be interesting to
Me too.
see how they start to deal with it directly. Because I'm constantly
Yeah,
reporting these spammers, but alls I get is like, can you send us a screenshot? And then the same canned advice of, well, did you know you can block them? And
yeah.
yes, you can block them, but unfortunately, alls they have to do is like rename their nickname and they come right back in.
Mm.
So they do need better moderation tools. Mess Effects actually asked the best question that they didn't answer, which was how do they plan on dealing with those spammers, and can we get some
Yeah,
moderation tools for this chat? It's hard for somebody to be doing a stream and moderating their chat at the same time. Takes a lot of concentration to do a good
yeah.
stream.
At least make it to where like you can always send so many messages in a minute,
Well, see,
and then
that actually there is a rule. If
yeah,
you've ever tried to type messages too fast, once in a while you'll get the little red circle and the message doesn't post, and the little
yeah,
red circle says, you're messaging too quick. But the spammers, what they're doing is they're running scripts on the chat,
yeah.
which is a hole. It's a hole they need to fix. Hey, John Jackson in the house. Good to see you, man.
What's up, Johnny?
But I'm glad that they're at least making this kind of effort. I think this is good to see.
Yeah,
I mean, it's better than doing nothing, which sometimes that's what it feels like, is going on. It does seem like they are trying to make some effort,
yeah, definitely.
and they have been doing surveys and asking users like what
Hmm.
they're looking for. I wish they'd come and ask us. They really want to know like what's going on. We stream every night.
Yeah, no kidding.
And no mention of Cakewalk in any of that. I was disappointed about that.
Yeah, maybe they just that's a thing that they're planning.
Well,
That they're
I think these two, I mean, Mitch, which I'm guessing is short for Michelle, uh,
yeah,
she's coming on as the community director, and
Yeah.
Aman is really more on the tech support side for the website. So it'd be nice if they get some of
Yeah.
the Cakewalk
Oh, it's
programming.
Michelle and not Michaela. I thought it was Michaela. It's Michelle. Okay.
But she spells it Mich on the
That's why I
interlude.
thought it was a guy. It's a girl. Okay. Yeah, I've been speaking.
Hey, in
That's cool.
French, Michael is Michelle.
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, I don't know. I thought Michelle was a female name. Oh, we can't get into that.
Well,
But
that was a little shorter than I thought it was going to be. I figured
yeah.
they'd at least go a couple hours with all the questions that people posted. There were
Mm,
some good questions in their post earlier this morning, giving people a chance to ask their questions for that show, and they ignored a lot of them, including mine. And I thought I
I,
had a good question. I wanted to know if they had any plans to incorporate
yeah.
the project integration that's currently built into Cakewalk, where you
Yeah.
can grab your projects from Bandlab, bring them over into Cakewalk, do your thing, and push them back up to Bandlab. That's an awesome feature, and I'm sure their future version of Sonar will continue to have that. But I'd really like to see that as a plugin.
If someone could, maybe for their next idea, they could go live and they could start showing off all the features, do like the live radio thing they kind of have there, but have guys up there listening to the song, talking about the song, and letting it kind of fade into halfway of the other song playing. And the other guy's like, "Oh, check this out! You know, you're gonna have 2, 3 teams doing this."
Well,
So
they mentioned that they do listening parties and things like that over on their Discord. So I wouldn't be surprised in the future if they start to incorporate some of that Discord activity over
yeah,
onto a live stream, because a lot of people
I recommend it.
don't know what's going on the BandLab Discord. I don't. I mean, I joined it.
Yeah,
I joined it. I took a look at it, but at the time I was on my crappy internet and
mm,
couldn't get Discord to play nice.
yeah, Discord's kind of heavy on the internet side, but yeah, I enjoyed that. That was kind of short, like you said. But,
No, it's a good start, a good effort for them at least to start doing this.
hmm You got anything
And
else?
hopefully they'll bring in
Well,
more of the BandLab support team, and some of the other ones that are working in the background, get to know them. I mean,
I
Amon,
think
every time you send support tickets, it feels like they're always being handled by the same person.
all the they get people to do more innovative stuff, making things more compatible. Do the connect that a lot of people didn't know that there is a feature in your computers, most of the new computers, and it's a kinetic what do they call it? It's some KDE. So it's an environment that you can kind of share the um the emulation of the software working alongside with your machine so they can kind of talk to each other in a way. So it's almost like if I put my cell phone in here and I had my DAW open, you know, and that had that connected with the phone at the same time, whatever I do on the phone, it should also show up on there. It would let me maybe use the phone as a console controller or even maybe a MIDI controller at that minute. That's a good idea and avenue for them to definitely try to improve on.
And you could run the BandLab app on your computer.
Yes, BlueStacks, and then you can also use just the computer side too with the browser. Yeah, BlueStack is kind of cool, but you can't really input something into that. That's where that KDE environment would actually come in handy, because it's got that piece that you need to that software
See, when you say
that
KDE,
BlueStacks
I'm
doesn't.
thinking Linux. Uh,
Yeah,
KD,
it's
well,
in Windows
yeah,
too.
well, KDE is actually a
Mhm,
graphical interface for Linux.
mhm.
Linux doesn't have like a set graphic UI like Windows has a
Yeah,
Microsoft
it's
UI.
also a communicator. Yeah,
KDE is one of the UIs that you can use in
so
Linux.
it's got kinetic sharing on it, so you can have this and this going on, talking to each other and responding. I had saw it on when I got the new update on my computer from Windows 11. It started showcasing it. And it was just a window, and then it says search for a device. I had my phone, and then when I was tapping on my phone, I was able to use my phone to do certain kind of things on the windows. So I have not experimented with how much more of the capabilities that this thing has, but from what I've read, that it basically, like I've described to you already, just allows for you to have some kind of controllability with another device, a- and just unlocks things for you. It's a different kind of screen sharing. It's an interactive kind of screen sharing. It's got a controller unit to it.
Well, in that case, it's
Kind
not
of,
screen sharing; it's remoting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's got the built remote. Yeah,
yeah.
it's cool.
Running a machine from another machine. I mean, I do that every
Hmm.
day, all the time. I'll
Yeah.
bring that machine up over here sometimes to do some work, and then remote to.
There's a thing on Reaper found. You could do a IP broadcasting of your MIDI, and you
Yeah,
can,
mid, m-
yeah.
MIDI over LAN. Sending
Hmm.
MIDI over a network, especially if it's a local network. Like here, I got a gigabit network, so sending a MIDI note, through the network is as
Yep.
fast as actually sending it through a MIDI cable. And
Yep. They
and
should do
and
that.
the cool thing with MIDI over LAN is it doesn't have the same distance problem that regular MIDI cables. If I want to run a MIDI cable all the way from this over to the other side of the room, I mean, I could.
Hmm.
There might be a little latency once you start getting past like 16 feet. You might run into some latency problems, but with Ethernet, I mean, you can use a splitter and keep extending Ethernet, and I could run MIDI across the house if I wanted to that way.
I have when I don't have it now, but when I had the Studio 6, I had that my phone had an app that went with it, and you can use that as your control console or your MIDI controller, and it that same way, IP, local ad hoc IP, and you would just put that in there, and then you go to the app and you type it in, and it'll show up, and it worked fast, like you said. I had no problem. Like I'm playing Nintendo, but I hit A, Mario jumps. I hit A, it gives me an A note through my headphones, no delay. Yeah, they're getting pretty smart with that technology out there like that, man.
All right, I'm loading something up here. Now we have a video that we didn't get to go to last week because we ran out of time, but this is my favorite YouTube channel. And last week we were talking about different frequencies and audio resonance and what you can do with sound. Uh, and we've had some discussions in the back about like the pyramids. Night
Yeah,
Night will tell you like we had a big night
they
of
move with sound.
pyramid talk, and some of the theories as to how they were built or what they were used for, some of them are tied to sound. And
Yep.
I thought this was a perfect subject for what we were going over with these
If I
different
did this,
frequencies.
if I had a piece of paper and I combed it, I'll show you. Probably do it something. I probably don't have proper paper here. Could you take yourself piece of computer paper? You would take your phone and you would go and find on YouTube like a vibrating tone, and you would stick its speaker through here, right? It's playing through, and then you would take like aluminum foil and you would try to pick it up, and it would pick up the aluminum foil and it'll move it around. There's a video demonstration of that. I learned that, and it works. I tested.
Well,
I was
one
stunned.
one of the theories of like how those giant rocks were moved
Hmm.
was that they used acoustics. They used sound to actually uh, um,
Hmm.
to elevate these 10-ton rocks so that you could push them with the sound carrying the rock underneath.
Maybe putting a flat surface marble flooring, and it's in an acoustic room or something that's kind of picking up the resonancy of the vibration really intensely, like marble probably would do. And they probably got like these things that they're banging on the floor, or they're doing around it, and it's rattling on the rock, and that will create like a. If they put some water down, probably makes it really easy for them to slide shit. So getting the foundation down is probably the easiest part. The only part that's the hardest is what would be loud enough to be able to and strong enough of a vibration to make something move all the way up that's more than a ton. And I think that's where that theory is kind of stumped at, because you can lift a light object certain with a certain amount of density matching to how much hertz or how much intensity of the vibration is, but only so far. Because if you were near something that was larger than that, you'd probably be turned to mush or scattered everywhere. Probably wouldn't be a very good idea. It could almost be like the physics of like when you have some like a metal bar, and you grab it and you hit it on something and it hurts your hand. It'd probably be something in that effect that would happen to you. Just saying.
Here it is.
Should find it.
This is what I'm looking at. Share this tab. So this is what I was talking about with the theory that acoustics could be used to levitate these giant rocks. And
Oh, levitate them.
yes, I mean, this is just one of the several theories when it comes to the pyramids and how sound plays into the pyramids and how they were possibly built. We were debating on how they cut these precise cuts into the rocks, where even with today's modern tools it would be difficult, but back then there's no evidence that there were tools that they used on the
Yeah.
pyramid. They don't find tools around to associate with the building of them. So there's some who think that they used actually acoustic to cut the rocks, which,
There's
which
tools
is
to do
which is
that.
possible. And like I said, this is my favorite YouTube channel, bar none. I binge it like every day. He is one of the best when it comes to like just tackling all the weird shit in the world and sometimes conspiracy theories. He looks at it from both sides. He's got a talking fish called Hecklefish, who's really awesome, and it's just a generally entertaining channel. Anybody out there who likes mysteries and things like that, the Y Files is your go-to on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Let's check it
And
out.
I think he is actually at the Y Files. Let's see. Yeah, at the Y Files, you'll find stuff about everything. Every
I'm
mystery,
excited
every
now.
mystery that's ever come up. And for this one, what we're going to be looking at here is the science of ancient acoustic levitation.
Okay.
How the pyramids might have been built. I don't want to say that was, but I would say it's a compelling explanation as to
They said were built.
how these things could have been moved around, and it is possible.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this, the Wi-Fi,
Okay.
how the pyramids were built.
Ancient civilizations possessed knowledge that has been lost to time. I think that's obvious. But to be fair, most lost knowledge is probably not practical to us today anyway. I mean, who cares what bacterial infection some ancient Swami cured with pine nuts and prayer when we can just use an antibiotic? And if some shaman or witch doctor discovered how I can make Windows not update the very second I start a Zoom call, well, I'd love to know that secret. But shaman are typically Mac people, so not a problem for them. But what about ancient technologies that would be of practical use today? Like levitation. Specifically, levitating large, heavy objects. Now that would be useful. Many people believe levitation, specifically sound or acoustic levitation, was how ancient civilizations like the Egyptians built the pyramids. There's actual science that supports this. Let's find out why. The ruins of several ancient civilizations like the pyramids of Giza, Stonehenge in the UK, and many others are monuments constructed of massive stones. And the first question we have to ask is, why? Why use huge, ridiculously heavy pieces of stone when the same structures could have been made with smaller blocks like bricks?
Yeah, they was showing off.
But we're looking at that question through a modern lens, based on the technologies that are available to us today. We do know that sound can levitate objects, and I'll get into how that works a little bit later, but current acoustic levitation technology can only move tiny objects with very little mass. Nobody's building pyramids at MIT. And if you are, awesome. Some researchers think ancient cultures may have mastered levitation through sound, which allowed them to easily manipulate massive objects.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Yes, the Jedi were an ancient culture, but let's look at cultures in our own galaxy. How the Great Pyramids of Egypt were built has been the subject of debate for a long time.
Aliens.
The fact is, no one really knows for certain how they were constructed.
Oh, the aliens know.
The mainstream theory is that it took a workforce of about 5,000 men and 20 years to build the Great Pyramid using ropes, pulleys, ramps, and cranes. And that may very well be the case, though I have my doubts. And if you guys want a whole video on the construction of the pyramids, let me know in the comments. There's a lot to cover about pyramids. For example, they weren't built by slaves.
Aliens don't need slaves.
Can we cool it with the aliens for just a minute? But let's talk about the 10th century historian Abul Hassan Ali al-Masudi. He's known as the Herodotus of the Arabs. And al-Masudi traveled all over the world, but finally settled in Egypt, where he wrote a 30-volume history of the world. Like everyone, he was awestruck by the pyramids, and he wrote a very intriguing passage about how the giant stone blocks were transported. First, magic papyrus was imprinted with symbols and placed under each stone. Then the stone was struck with a metal rod that caused it to slowly rise above the ground. The stone then moved along a path that was paved with other stones and fenced in by metal poles. The stone traveled along this path for about 50 meters, then gently settled to the ground. And this process was then repeated over and over again until the builders had the stone exactly where they wanted it. Now, some believe metal poles could have been used to create high-frequency sound vibrations, which would have been responsible for creating the levitation effects. Now, given that the pyramids were already thousands of years old when al-Masudi wrote this, we have to wonder where he got his information. Was this an oral history passed down through the generations, or just a great story created by a talented writer?
Can I make a quick point?
Go ahead.
May I refer you to Clarke's third law?
Right. Clarke's third law says any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Bingo.
The Great Pyramid of Giza does possess some extraordinary acoustic properties and can dramatically amplify sounds at certain frequencies. So the Egyptians clearly knew a lot about sound science and how it could be used to produce powerful effects, possibly including levitation. Did striking the rock create vibrations that resulted in sonic levitation? Maybe the layout of stones and rods created some kind of magnetic levitation. The science for either scenario is sufficiently advanced, and therefore to al-Masudi and to us is indistinguishable from magic. Now, the pyramids aren't the only ancient structures made of huge stone blocks. There are monuments around the world that contain stone components of such incredible size that they make the pyramids look tiny, but their construction remains a mystery. Let's look at a few more. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek, Lebanon contains the 3 largest stone blocks ever used in a man-made structure. Each block is estimated to weigh as much as 1,000 tons. Now, no industrial equipment in existence today could lift one, no super crane, and certainly no number of people, yet somehow they are positioned together so precisely that a sheet of paper can't fit between them. Now, nearby is an even bigger stone. It's known as Hajar el-Hibla, and it's the largest piece of stone ever cut by humans. It weighs 1,200 tons. It's estimated it would take 16,000 men to even budge it, and it would be a huge challenge of modern technology to just create it, yet there it is. How did they do it? Nobody really knows. Let's go to the other side of the planet. On a remote plateau in Bolivia, 12,000 feet above sea level, there's a monument called Puerta del Sol, or Gate of the Sun. This elaborately carved megalith is a single piece of stone that weighs 10 tons. Cool. Well, how did it end up almost 4 kilometers up a mountain? And some scientists think that it may not be in its original location. And if that's so, where did it come from? Here's another. Nam Madal is an archaeological site on the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia, and it's been called the Machu Picchu of the Pacific. It's the only ancient city ever built upon a coral reef, and the engineering of Nam Madal is so complex, nobody can figure out how it was built. The lost city dates back to around 200 BC, and it's made up of hundreds of stacked stone logs, each about 3 meters long and about 1 meter in diameter. The logs, which are stacked kind of like firewood, create walls that are 40 feet high and 18 feet thick. That's taller than a 3-story building, yet each stone log weighs about 2.5 tons. And the logs that make up the high walls, they weigh as much as 50 tons each. How they were moved and lifted into position is absolutely baffling. The locals didn't have pulleys, they didn't have levers, they didn't even have access to metal. This is Stone Age technology, so how did they do it? Well, the locals tell stories about giants who flew great canoes in the sky.
Aliens.
And those aliens, I mean giants, use some kind of magic to levitate the logs into place. Now, these are structures from very different and diverse cultures from all over the world. What was their secret? Well, these societies are so old that there is no record of how these structures were constructed. But in almost every culture where megaliths exist, a legend also exists that the huge stones were moved by sound, either by striking with a rod to produce acoustic resonance, or by instruments, or by simply chanting stones into position. Let's see how that works. For centuries, travelers from the Far East told tales of acoustic levitation. Some claim to have encountered mystics who possessed the ability to levitate themselves and objects using sound. One famous story comes from a medical doctor named Dr. Yal. He had been brought to a remote area of Tibet in 1939 to treat a Buddhist holy man suffering from an unknown illness. After spending some time with the monks, Dr. Yal eventually gained their confidence, and to show their appreciation, they performed a demonstration of sonic levitation that left the good doctor astounded. They took him to a meadow that was surrounded by high cliffs, and in the middle of the clearing, about 250 meters from a cliff, was a heavy slab of stone. Then the monks arranged 19 musical instruments, 13 drums and 6 trumpets, in a 90-degree arc around the stone and started playing. The other monks began singing and chanting a prayer, slowly increasing the tempo. During the first 4 minutes, nothing happened. Then as the speed of the drumming and the noise increased, the big stone blocks started to rock and sway and suddenly took off into the air and continued to rise until it landed on a hilltop about 250 meters above the ground. This demonstration was repeated multiple times for Dr. Jarl, who actually took film footage of this.
What? Where's the film?
Oh, that's confiscated and classified.
Well, that's a piece of bullshit.
I know. I actually found a paper that explains scientifically how this levitation might have actually worked. Link below. And if you're into geometry and geodetics, you're gonna love it.
Sounds moving. You see what I did there?
Another creation credited with acoustic levitation is the Coral Castle located in Florida. The Coral Castle is a sprawling stone compound built by Edward Leedskalnin between the years 1923 and 1951. The complex is constructed of nearly 1,000 tons of rock, which Leedskalnin somehow cut, shaped, lifted, and maneuvered into place, all by himself. Just him. Now, FYI, he was 5 foot tall and weighed 100 pounds.
Ant-Man!
I ruined the moment, didn't I?
Leedskalnin refused to allow visitors or observers on site while he was working, so there are no eyewitness accounts detailing his construction methods. Yet, alone, working mostly at night, he was somehow able to cut and transport 1,000 tons of rock to use for walls and towers. He also built all kinds of buildings and sculptures, all from giant pieces of stone. An obelisk he raised weighs 28 tons, and the largest rock on the property weighs an estimated 35 tons. Now, some of these stones are twice the weight of the largest blocks in the Great Pyramid of Giza. All this he did alone and without heavy machinery. The most amazing thing to me is the stone gate. It weighs 9 tons and has about a 1/4 inch of clearance inside the frame. It's so well balanced that you could push it open with a single finger. And this is something that would be challenging for even the most experienced engineering and construction team. Yet somehow Leedskalnin was able to do it alone.
Oh, this guy definitely wasn't union.
Nope. Leedskalnin never specifically identified sound as a key factor in his work, but he had an interest in radio and owned all kinds of sound equipment which he used for unknown purposes. Now, no one ever saw him lift enormous objects, though the story goes that spying teenagers saw him float coral blocks through the air like hydrogen balloons.
I love this guy.
I do too.
I have discovered the secrets of the pyramids and have found out how the Egyptians and the ancient builders in Peru, Yucatan, and Asia, with only primitive tools, raised and set in place blocks of stone weighing many tons.
He told friends ancient masters had developed a method for overcoming the force of gravity, and that as a practicing Freemason, he was exposed to this knowledge through his contacts in that secret organization.
This guy built an Illuminati sandcastle with magnets?
He might have. With magnets or sound or both. I mean, there's actual science behind some of this. Unless you're in a vacuum, sound is everywhere. Sound is created by vibrating molecules of a medium, like air or water, into waves. The waves hit our eardrums or our skull, and our brain decodes the wavelengths into sound. We don't usually think of sound as having a physical presence, but acoustic waves can absolutely affect the environment. Think of a nightclub or a concert where you could feel the bass. Right. Like that. Or how ultrasound is used to pulverize kidney stones. Or how singing the right note or wavelength with a sufficient volume or amplitude can shatter glass. There are even sound waves that can make people sick. We've got a video coming up on this, so
hit subscribe, hit the bell,
okay.
like, share.
Okay.
Hey.
Don't oversell it.
I'm sorry, I get excited.
Anyway, current acoustic levitation techniques use sound traveling through media, usually gas, to counteract the force of gravity. A basic acoustic levitator has 2 main parts: a transducer, which is really just the surface that creates the sound by vibrating, kind of like a speaker. And there's also a reflector, which helps focus the sound waves on the object you want to levitate. Now, to get this to work, there's quite a bit of math involved. For example, the distance between the transducer and the reflector must be a multiple of half of the wavelength of the sound. Now, this is because you need to get enough molecules lined up under the object in order to lift it. If you just blast sound at an object, all you're doing is scattering a bunch of molecules around. That won't work. But if we remember the story about the Tibetan monks, they were using this precise technique. They played specific instruments in unison, just like a transducer, focused at a specific object from a specific distance, like a reflector. I bet if we knew the actual sounds of their instruments, we'd see a correlation between the wavelengths they emitted and the distance to the stone. Now, I'm not saying the monks actually got this to work, but I am saying the science is sound.
A pun?
No.
That was so terrible. Oh,
No, I didn't mean to do that. It was...
Oh, shame on you.
So now that we've seen that sound can be used to move objects, is this enough evidence to prove how the pyramids were constructed? For some people, yes. For most, no. For me, I'm not really sure. Could the pyramids have been constructed using pulleys, ramps, and cranes, like mainstream Egyptologists claim? Well, sure. But when you look at the sheer size those ramps would need to be, and the distances involved, the amount of materials required to build the scaffolding would be more than the material in the actual pyramids. Much more. So where are all the construction materials? To me, there seems like there's something going on here. But we can't even talk about this without being labeled kooks. Any challenge of established scientific dogma is labeled pseudoscience. Isn't that a bit arrogant? I mean, isn't pseudoscience only pseudoscience until it's actual science? But people are afraid to go up against the establishment. Kepler and Copernicus were ridiculed by their peers. Louis Pasteur's research was rejected by the medical establishment. Gregor Mendel, Nikola Tesla, initially they were rejected. Imagine the hate they'd get if Twitter existed? But that's a long time ago. Surely we've matured since then. Think about this. In 1903, when the Wright brothers and others were building airplanes, the New York Times said manned flight would not be possible for 1 to 10 million years.
Oops.
And in 1985, the New York Times said no matter how inexpensive or powerful a laptop computer would become, nobody would want one.
No, boy.
And when Apple announced the iPhone, the Times said they'd probably never build it, and even if they did, nobody would buy it.
They.
And speaking of Twitter, here's what the New York Times said when it launched.
Using Twitter for literate communication is about as likely as firing up a CB radio and hearing some guy recite the Iliad. Whether the service can be made into a sustainable business, quite unknown. I'm skeptical. Blah, 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 blah.
Haven't I always told you don't trust the media?
You have. If you suggest that levitating heavy objects with sound or creating free energy is even possible, you're viciously attacked. Not just by Facebook and Twitter, but by the New York freaking Times. Aren't new ideas worth exploring? Did Steve Jobs care what people thought about him? Does Elon Musk care? No. They just went out and changed the world. So my message today is not to the corporate media or social media. They make money by getting all of us to attack each other. That's their business model. It's shameful, and that's why nobody trusts them. Who cares? George Bernard Shaw said, all great truths begin as blasphemies. This message is to those blasphemers, to the recluse out there building castles with sound and magnets and his own hands, to the nerd in the garage tinkering with electronics because he knows in his heart there is a better way. This message is to the next Kepler, Jobs, Elon Musk, to the misfits and dreamers and visionaries. My message is to you. They are going to attack you. They are going to hate you. Ignore them. Keep dreaming. Keep building. Keep blaspheming. Because I can tell you with 100% certainty, the world needs you much more than it needs the New York Times. Thanks for hanging out with us today. My name is AJ, that's Hecklefish. This has been the Y-Files. If you had fun or learned anything today, help me out with the algorithm and comment, like, subscribe, share. The algorithm is a gorgon with hair made of venomous snakes that can turn you into stone. But with your help, we can defeat her.
I eat gorgons for breakfast.
Until next time, be safe, be kind, and know that you are appreciated.
and that's from the Y Files at the Y Files on YouTube. Great channel.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Well, you see how it could be possible that, these giant stones that machines can't move, with the right approach with sound and magnets, that his point about like probably both a little bit of magnetism and knowing what's going on with sound, you might possibly be able to move 10-ton rocks.
I think I've thought about the magnets and sound and levitating with anti-gravity long time ago.
Well, yeah,
And the reason,
you remember when
yeah,
remember when we were talking like how do UFOs possibly work and
and
uh
built,
yeah,
yeah.
ways that they might work. This could fall
I
into
have
that.
something to that. Remember that part that we were thinking that was the difficulty? Ring. I get a rim, a ring. It's an opposite element, so it's like your ground. It's got to have somewhere to dissipate that discharge that comes out from doing what it's doing. And that little ring that would sit there and spin really, really fast while everything else is going like this. Maybe you might need 2 or 3 of them. That might actually make it work.
See, I think those spinning rings would be like GPS for
Yeah,
a saucer to
help it
fly
kind
the
of.
way that they've been described.
Yeah,
I think that fast spinning ring serves both as to create anti-gravity and to navigate.
yeah, to be able to go that way or this way. Because you got the gyroscope to keep it balanced, to keep it.
And
That's why it kind of
if
wobbles.
they're doing anything with sound to create
Yeah,
anti-gravity, when people report seeing these things in the sky, a lot of them say that like they're silent. They don't hear
yeah,
anything, no noise coming from these things. And it's possible that the reason why they don't hear anything is because there's some kind of
that's what I said.
sound barrier being implemented to create anti-gravity.
I bet you those rings have the magnets on it, and then the other one that's above it has the opposite pole that it doesn't like. So they're just constantly boom, 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 boom,
Well, and it would have to
and
spin
yeah,
at a very specific speed, and
yeah,
we're talking stuff like liquid metal, things like
yeah.
mercury or something where it's not constrained by hard metal properties. It most likely would be like a liquid metal ball that's spinning around
Just spinning
super,
around
super
it.
fast.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting to think about.
Yes, it is.
Now I got one more video that is a holdover from last week, and
Mhm.
I've been seeing. Let's see, let me find it. I've been seeing a lot of news about this. Have you heard about the Apple Vision?
Yes, so they're trying to do their own version of the Oculus Rift.
Well, no, this is more than technically an Oculus. It kind of goes to the next level. Do you remember Google Glasses back in like
Yes,
2014 to like
an
2016?
interface.
They
Yeah,
were everybody was talking about them, but
the Windows have it.
but
Yeah,
they got shut down. They got shut down real fast, especially with casinos. The
yeah,
casinos said we are never going to let anybody come in with those kinds of glasses. And I think the problem with the Google glasses were they were they look like normal glasses. So
yeah.
it's harder to tell if somebody is wearing one of these things. Now, Apple's come into the game. They don't look like regular glasses. They do look more like the Oculus, and they're designed for that kind of VR mentality. But what they bring to the table is
Yeah.
virtual screens. So,
Field of view is always their issue and
well,
resolution.
this
That'd be interesting.
this isn't going to have any problem with field of view.
That's great. Let me see it.
All right, so this is by the Cold Fusion channel over on YouTube, which I believe is at Cold Fusion, and uh, these guys have a ton of science and reviews. Again, like the Y files, all sorts of mystery, possible conspiracy that's going on today.
Yeah.
And this is their analysis of these new glasses, and they're claiming like this is the next iPhone in the future. This is where Apple is going to replace the iPhone. I'm not sure if it'll get there anytime soon, but it's definitely got some potential. So why Apple Vision Pro is the next iPhone analysis.
I've dabbled with some similar devices. This is a computer. This is totally different from what people are thinking about.
By now, you've probably heard of Apple's new device, the Vision Pro mixed reality headset. The device has really divided the internet. Some people think it looks goofy and is stupid, while the early impressions of those who have actually used it couldn't be more glowing. It's intuitive, rapid and responsive, has a crisper image than any headset out there, and feels like magic.
Like I normally don't call tech things sort of magical or surreal like this, but this was, even for a pre-release product, kind of unbelievable how well it does.
Moving around the windows, I had messages pulled up, FaceTime, Safari is so easy. You just look at the bottom bar, you grab it, you move it. You can move it in the X or Y space, the Z space, and it works so well. So I was actually very surprised by the intuitiveness of it.
It's always an amazing time when Apple releases a new product, but the Apple Vision Pro is the truth. The technology is there. My mind is blown.
I would live here. That alone. Oh my goodness, that was... I need the emoji, mind blown. This is what you see from me, right?
We'll see exactly how this was achieved later in the episode, but the fact is, Apple really thinks that this is the next step in computing, just like the iPhone was. And when you think about it, iPhones are no longer interesting. And how can they be? There's only so much you can do with a flat, rectangular slab. It would seem like computing in 3 dimensions, as opposed to 2, is the way of the future. But hang on. The thing is, virtual reality and augmented reality aren't new technologies, and Apple's device is heavy and expensive. So, will it actually revolutionize the technology landscape again? Or is it still too early? And why is this so expensive in the first place? We'll dive into what this product really is all about.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
The Vision Pro isn't a traditional VR headset or AR headset. It's actually both and can fluidly move between the 2 states. You can use your fingers, eyes, and voice for basic tasks, a keyboard and mouse for productivity, or a controller for gaming. According to Apple, it should be smooth enough and powerful enough to overcome the main problem of motion sickness. Some viewers watching this may say, what's the point? Just go outside and touch grass. I understand, but this episode is purely an analysis on the insane technical achievements, not social commentary. Let's take a look at what makes this product so different. If those who have tried the device are right, this is the first headset to my knowledge that excels both in AR and VR at a high level. At its core, this is its unique selling point. 2 of the more popular devices, the MetaQuest and PSVR, are gaming and VR focused. They have touches of AR where you can see your environment, but it's either very grainy or even just in black and white. Augmented reality devices, on the other hand, like the Vario XR3 or Microsoft's HoloLens 2, are focused on industry and productivity, and most can't even do VR at all. So Apple doing both of these well at the same time is very difficult, an engineering feat, an expensive feat at $3,500. But once you see what goes into the device, the price makes a bit more sense. To make all of this work was not easy from a design perspective. Apple went nuts in the technical innovation side of things. They went on a hiring spree over the past few years, recruiting experts in VR and AR companies, and outright buying some of these companies, in some cases even as far back as 2017. And after 5,000 patents, that technical knowledge paid off. The Vision Pro is to the iPhone as what the iPhone was to the desktop computer. That is, a new way of working with computers. Every time Apple does this, the rest of the industry follows. Apple usually aren't the ones to invent the technology, but they're great at perfecting it. This is what I mean. In the 1980s, Apple saw a problem with computers. Typing commands to make the computer do what you wanted was too hard for people. So the solution? Why not just point and click directly at what you want? This idea was borrowed from Xerox PARC. In the 2000s, Apple saw another problem. A versatile, small, portable computer is too hard to use with buttons and a D-pad. So the solution? Why not just use your fingers directly? Apple got this technology from a company called Fingerworks. And now, in the 2010s, Apple saw another problem. VR and AR headsets can be hard to use. The interface is inaccurate and sometimes confusing. Menus are slow to navigate and controllers are clunky. The solution? Navigate with your body. Specifically, the parts of your body that communicate. Your eyes, hands, and mouth. A user can look at where they want to navigate, and a simple pinch of the fingers selects, and a pinch and a flick scrolls. Move anything you want, anywhere, in 3 dimensions. If that's all too much, you can simply just talk to the computer. These technologies have all existed before, but have never been put together and executed well enough. And by now, you can see the pattern. Apple sits back and waits till other tech companies make the first moves, then they swoop in and do it better. Another way of thinking about the Vision Pro is kind of like a 3D iPhone. It might sound odd, but if you think about it, Apple did say that all iPad and iOS apps, or at least hundreds of thousands of those apps, will work with the headset. So technically, if that's true, that is like an iPhone in 3D. It seems like Apple is trying to get towards an ecosystem where all apps will work in some way on all devices. In the case of the headset, interface elements float with shadows and can be expanded and moved at will.
But I was really impressed with the responsiveness again. This was better than any headset I've seen with just your hands. If I wanted to scroll through something like a Safari window, I literally, in air, would touch my fingers together and drag the window, and it would scroll nearly in real time. I would like throw it around, like toss it, catch it, toss it the other way, and start scrolling through things with my finger. And I was super impressed with that too.
And if you want, you can even be transported to a large virtual environment and make the TV truly as large as you like. An interesting touch here is blending AR and VR using a crown mechanism, much like the Apple Watch.
Spin the digital crown one way and you'll see more of the real world. Spin it the other and you see less. Press on the button and you get taken to the home screen. And it, again, really worked like that.
User-controlled immersion isn't something I've seen before, and it's another thing that sets this headset apart. Also, if users have a MacBook, all they need to do is look at it, and the MacBook screen begins to float into the air, and you can continue your work there in 3D space. You can view photos, videos, have multiple windows open, do documents, video editing, even view 3D messages, and basically do all the computing tasks you would otherwise do, but in a 3D environment. To make the device feel more human, when you're in an AR space, a person on the outside interacting with a user can see a simulated version of their eyes from an outward-facing screen. And from the perspective of a user, people that come into your view fizzle through the 3D environment and can interact with you. Early users do say that this does work as well as the demo, but the external eyes on the headset are a tad creepy. Users can take 3D photos and videos if they wish, and I think that's kind of dumb, but others might fairly disagree, and I think that's fine. Apple managed to cram 23 million pixels into 2 screens so sharp that it's the equivalent of a micro LED 4K TV for each eye, and the people who have used it have all said the same thing. It's sharp, and even small text is crisp enough for web browsing.
And the clarity of, say, a Safari tab, you're reading an article, is so good. The words are super crisp, and I honestly felt more excited about the productivity elements to it than even the entertainment.
The screens have 5,000 nits of peak brightness, and that's a lot. The MetaQuest 2, for example, maxes out at about 100 nits of brightness, and Sony's PSVR, about 265 nits. So 5,000 nits is crazy. According to display analyst Ross Young, this 5,000 nits of peak brightness isn't going to blind users, but rather provide superior contrast, brighter colors, and better highlights than any of the other displays out there today. While the M2 does all the heavy lifting, the R1 chip makes sure that it all feels realistic. The chip is capable of driving imagery at a latency of 12 milliseconds or less. That's 8 times faster than the blink of an eye. This should stop motion sickness, a huge barrier to most XR systems today. One of the best implemented features is the eye tracking.
The most impressive thing about this headset, the most impressive thing, is the eye tracking. I'm not even kidding. This eye tracking is sick. Move your eyes around the UI, it would immediately highlight and select exactly what you're looking at, no matter how small the target was or what you're looking at. Cruising, you're sailing through everything by just looking at things. And it feels like telepathic. You just look at something and select it.
To get the eye tracking and hand movement so precise, Apple utilized LED illumination and internal cameras to track eye movements down to a T. According to Sterling Crispin, who was a neurotechnology prototyping researcher within Apple's internal technology development group, the Vision Pro is a culmination of the whole industry morphed into a single product. He worked on tech that could predict if a user was going to click on something before they actually did. Apple used AI algorithms to do this. The R1 chip processes inputs from 12 cameras, 6 microphones, and 5 sensors that can see forward, downwards, sideways, in visual light, infrared, and LiDAR. Okay, so it's not perfect. The Vision Pro does have some drawbacks. For one, it's too heavy to be comfortable for long periods of time, and it's not like you're going to be using it for long because it's only got a 2-hour battery life. The power is supplied by a battery brick, which goes in the pocket and is connected by a wire. This short battery life is probably an indication of how intensely the chips are working under the hood, and that's saying something because Apple is obsessed with efficiency. It is helpful that it can be plugged into a wall, but what it doesn't help is the fact that it's expensive, $3,500. So the question that a lot of people ask is, why is it so expensive? Does Apple plan on ripping everyone off? Well, not exactly. This technology wasn't easy to design, build, or produce. According to leaks, the bill of materials cost of just the components was around $1,500. So even if Apple sold this device at cost, it would still be 3 times more expensive than the Meta Quest or PSVR 2. And we can't overlook the R&D costs. There are multiple custom technologies in the device, a custom R1 chip, new display technology, and a completely new cooling system. This would cost Apple tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars to develop and produce. Also, for very important context, the basic Microsoft HoloLens 2 costs $3,500, and the Industrial Edition costs around $5,000. For Apple's case, the pricing is going to be a hard sell for consumers, especially in this economic climate. But the good news is the cost is sure to come down with future non-Pro models. Ultimately, Apple's Vision Pro and its subsequent headsets are going to be drastically less popular than the iPhone. But what it will do is popularize a new way of computing, so in that regard, it will be the next iPhone, in spirit only. The human-computer interaction is what I said Apple would crack when I first talked about Apple's future AI headset 3 years ago. In my opinion, a great user interface experience and good apps should be a solid enough foundation, and Apple could start seeing units really move by its 3rd iteration, pending macroeconomic factors of course. Now, I could be totally wrong, and even at a lower price, people may need some convincing to put on a headset regularly. It really is a time where all of that future technology that we dreamed of as kids is starting to come into existence. It's just wild. As cool as all of this is, purely from a technical sense, I can't help but wonder what happens in the future. If headsets like this improve in size and weight, is it going to contribute to the loneliness problem? It could be a less prevalent, but still existing, new form of smartphone addiction. It's way too early to tell, but it's still something I just thought about. So let me know your thoughts. If you want to see extended thoughts on this, check out the latest episode of the Through the Web podcast, where we express our opinions in more detail. Okay, so thanks for watching. My name is Dagogo, and you've been watching Cold Fusion, and I'll catch you again soon for the next episode. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Fusion. It's new thinking.
Man, That might
It was
actually get me to buy an Apple product.
yeah, I'm sitting here squaring off in my head. How am I gonna plot this one motherfucker? I mean, it's like buying a car.
Well, a car with that kind of design, it's like buying a
Yeah.
car with like 12 cameras to drive for you. I mean, it's like Teslas, you know.
Yeah, but if you get the whole suit, get that, you get all the other components, you'd be the full moon 3000.
Well,
Well,
and that was a good analysis on it. I do like this
mhm.
channel, Science, Tech, and Business. Cold Fusion is definitely showing you where the future is coming from.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised Apple is actually leading it this early on with this, because you know it's like they mentioned, Apple tends to be the company that comes in after the fact and
Mhm.
does build a better version of something, but they're not the ones who typically will invent it out of the box. And some of what they're doing here is going to require them to actually invent it. The chips that they're using, they're going to have to produce those themselves.
Yeah.
These are specialized chips, and the design is right now at $3,500. I actually feel that's kind of cheap what you're getting here, because if
Yeah.
you're going to buy a Mac desktop, the typical Mac desktop costs about 3 grand by itself, and that's not even the souped up Mac desktops. That's like their business class workstations.
Yeah.
This is competitively priced at that point.
They gotta make something.
And focusing on augmented reality versus virtual reality, that's smart of them, because it's with the augmented reality approach that people are going to use this for like work, Tony
Mhm.
Stark style. And I could see musicians like utilizing this to, hey, like being a conductor. I point this way, play some brass. I point that way, play some violins. You're going to see people utilize that as a controller for music.
Yeah. The depth. They said they fixed that too. People get motion sickness.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's always been a big problem, and especially over on the VR side, where VR's approach is everything you see is virtual.
Mhm.
Augmented reality's approach is they mix the virtual with what you actually see, which is much cooler. Like I can have screens floating in front of me, but still see the room I'm in.
Yeah.
And there's much
Mhm.
more of a market for that. I mean, gamers are always going to drive this technology. So, the VR side, it's all about the game, but the augmented side, it's going to be about better work tools, more efficiency,
Sure. Think so.
or in some cases for training and things like that, where
That plus AI is gonna be insane.
oh, and AI is playing into these, like
Yeah.
all those cameras and the way that they're picking up your gestures and your movements.
Yeah.
That's taking AI to learn you, just like you have to train, your voice if
Yeah.
you're using certain tools. Those things have to learn your motions.
Those things are weapons too. Spy weapons. They can be
Uh,
anything.
you know,
You could use-
some bad people are going to utilize this technology for sure. It's that
Mhm.
powerful. Why would they ignore it? But
Hmm.
hopefully, more good people use it and counteract that.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting product review and hell of a night, huh? A little Bandlab knowledge, the first Q&A stream from them.
Yeah, yeah, some good videos and good pointers. I was interested into the dude with the goldfish.
No,
What was his name?
yeah, the Y files, Hecklefish. Like I mean, I would like that channel even without Hecklefish,
Hecklefish. He
but
heckles him.
the guy is so good at what he does his homework. You know,
Yeah.
the things he was talking about, they've been mysteries to me. That guy that built that whole city in his yard of stones. I've been wondering about that from the moment I
Yeah, that was excellent. I like the sound of magnets and all that. That was
well,
cool.
and it goes to show you that sound
Mhm.
is powerful. Sound could be a weapon. Sound could be a tool.
Especially with the Bandlab sampler thing. I want to mess with that too.
Oh yeah, if you play with the sampler this month, throw your shit in that contest. It's not often that they have a contest like that where all you got to do is use the tool.
I have a difficult time trying to enter into them, so I don't get it when I go in it. Am I doing the contest when it opens up the DAW right then and there,
I
or
think with most of their contests, it's all about how you hashtag. You have to hashtag the contest because that's how they look for the entries.
yeah? Well, we'll have to try that sometime. And
Unless it's
maybe
it's one of the ones where it's a Bandlab track and you're adding to it. Sometimes those you have to click a button
Yeah.
and you fork the project that you need in order to get into the contest.
deleting your Reaper media folder that you need.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, another Thursday night come and gone. Glenn will be back next week. Right now, he's partying in the mountains.
Yeah. Hopefully, he's having a good time.
Oh, with the stuff he does, his work is fun. Well, it was good to have you on, John. Much appreciated.
Yeah. Little delay the whole time. I've had a weird delay. That's why it takes me. So it's like, it's almost like ping pong, but it works.
I've been dealing with that since I moved up to here.
Yeah. It's not bad. That was fun.
I want a cable modem.
You'll line that cable like a camel in Afghanistan.
All right, so we're going to be signing off. You'll be getting ready for tomorrow night.
All right. Is anyone in the Zoom or?
Oh, yeah, we'll jump over there after. So come back tomorrow night, the SR show.
All right. We didn't plan that one. It's okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it over in the Zoom. Night, everyone.
Ambient noise, yeah.
So now you're grabbing some Bandlab clips.
Now for me, that would also be something where I would use like volume automation and like bring that from the bottom, like bring it in and then bring it back out.
And these are the kinds of sounds you can scratch. With this AI, like scratching it actually can be cool.
Oh, that was perfect for the interlude too.
Ends it right in the right
I didn't
spot.
even notice. 40. I didn't even realize the text extra faded out at the interlude until it happened. I'm like, wait a minute.
Sometimes you just, it was just meant to be that way.